So Tanya, it's good to finally catch up with you.
Yeah,
How's so you moved from California to Florida? How is it? What's the
hot, hot, hot and humid. I don't
All
recommend it.
right. All right.
No, it's a lovely place. The people are wonderful. I think with this chapter of my life where I am,
hmm
I think the pace of here is good for my mental health. It's slower. It's not so chaotic and competitive and striving to want more and need more. Yeah, I'm hanging out with people who come in from Canada, and they're snowbirds. It's a snowbird town, and
Yeah.
actually it's a snowbird state. But where I am in East Naples, no, I enjoy it. Parts of me want to get back to San Diego. If I could pick up the quality of life that I have here and the
Uh-huh.
people that we have here, not to say there's not good quality in San Diego, but I would,
Mm.
if I could pick up the pace and move it to San Diego with me, it'd be perfect. But we'll see. I'm here until mid next year anyway. My lease will be up, and we'll see. Nothing is ever written in stone.
That's good. That's a smart way of looking at things,
Yeah,
you know. Yeah,
nothing's ever
yeah.
written in stone, and I'm here. I think wherever you go, there you are. And Dominique needed a change and I needed a change. Dominique's my sister. And it just happened to be that she came here first. I came to visit and then I followed suit.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
That's how I ended up here.
Yeah, I've been on the East Coast in North Carolina
Hmm.
and can wait, there's somewhere else I went to further even north of New York. I can't remember, but I know North Carolina, that humidity is
It's
serious
brutal.
business. Yeah, like we're just too spoiled in California, and but California is so jacked up. So it's it's a hot mess. So
Wherever you go, it's like there's always going to be something. But I will tell you, Kenny, had I come to visit this time last year, I never would have moved. This I could do hot. I could do hot, and I mean, you all have had like really like huge heat waves out there in quite recent times, right? I can do
Yeah.
heat. It's the humidity. It's like hot. It's like you need 10 showers a day.
Yeah, yeah. You get out the shower and you walk
And you
outside and
need
you're like,
another
I'm wet
one.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wet
I mean, I
again.
don't even
I'm
do
wet
my hair
again.
anymore. I had long hair. I chopped it. I've given up. I've given up. I mean, you're lucky I'm wearing a cute little dress today.
Uh,
Otherwise, I'm just like, right?
yeah, yeah.
It's
So
just a different climate, but so far so good.
that's cool. That's good. Yeah, don't I wouldn't be too committed. Like even here in where I'm, you know where I live, right?
Yeah.
You used to live near me and live by me, and it's I'm in school. I went back to school to do some switch over to the medical field,
Nice.
and yeah, and I got like 20 or 19 months left. But I'm thinking, should I move? And I've looked at places. And my buddy's like, come to Idaho, man. It's great. It's country to open space. And I said, all right. He goes, but don't come in the wintertime. I'm
Don't come
like,
in the
why?
winter.
It's brutal. I'm like, dude, I don't want to. I'm too spoiled, man. I'm a house cat.
We really are spoiled as Californians, and whether you're in LA, San Diego, or anywhere in between, we are really, really spoiled. We have, I mean, I still say we, so maybe subconsciously,
You're coming back. Don't
I'm
worry. You're coming back
going
home.
back. Who knows? But Idaho was going to be my first. If it was either Idaho. I actually had a little job interview or a job opportunity there, but it just went south real fast. Thank God, just wasn't meant to be. But Idaho was going to be one of my places. But then I'm like, I didn't know anybody. So when my sisters are over here on the East Coast, Denise lives in Italy, but she's not going to fly 12 hours to come see me in California, but she'll fly 12 hours to see both of us in Florida.
Yeah.
So my niece, my nephews, my nieces out there in Cali, they have their own lives, they have their own children. The cool thing about it is that Nicole's daughter lives here in Florida, and
Uh huh.
so Dominique has kind of picked up that instead of Grandma Nicole, it's Grandma TT, and so it's nice to be around family, and
Yeah.
she's only like an hour and a half away. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I
Yeah.
have a
So
very small family.
everything just kind of, I'm just going with the flow, man. Today, it's hotter than holy hell.
Uh,
Tomorrow, I'll want to stay for the next 10 years. So it just goes back to, you know what? You just got to be where you are and meet yourself where you are at that moment, because things can change.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know who I was talking to about this, but I have the conversation often is that life is so unpredictable. You
Mhm.
know, do you remember when you're kids, like in elementary school, everyone's talking, I'm going to be a firefighter or I'm going to be an astronaut. No one's like, hey, I'm going to be, middle age or beyond, trying to figure it out. Like, that's what I'm doing. I'm literally went back to school
Good for you,
and
though. What type
yeah,
of medicine, or what type of in the profession? Where?
nuclear medicine. It's,
Oh,
yeah, it's
you're going
for,
big.
yeah, yeah. I got a full scholarship, so I'm like, hey, I can't refuse it, right?
Do it.
Yeah, so it's an accelerated program. Actually, I didn't go to school today. I just kind of studied on my own because I'm usually in school. I would probably just got out now. You know, it's super super accelerated. It's like a maybe a week or two of work in a day, and there's exams every day and all this other stuff. So that's why even
Well,
my podcast is hard to get the scheduling in with certain people. I'm like, I
well,
gotta
nuclear
adapt.
medicine, you know what? I mean, Florida out here, I mean, you've got the elderly out here who are battling, with cancers, and, I mean, you've
Yes.
got I just you got to try it out though, because of the
Yeah.
heat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's big out here too. I guess cancer's big everywhere. It seems to be
It's
popular.
everywhere.
But
I know. I know. And you
yeah,
don't
but I'm
need to
gonna
be
go
old.
probably yeah. Well, I'm gonna go towards the diagnostic side of it. Um, diagnosing, and things like that. So, I'll see how that
Good.
goes. Yeah, see how it goes. But I
Stay
can't believe I'm
busy.
just doing this big of a change. Yeah, because I used to be a teacher. I don't know if I told you that. It was a while ago that I used to be a
No.
teacher. Yeah, and it just does not pay well. It's
No, it
atrocious.
doesn't.
It's not worth it.
It doesn't. And if you got a
Yeah.
scholarship, holy moly, do it. I mean, how old are you?
See, you never ask a woman her age. I mean, that's just
I'm
I'm kidding.
55 next month. Who cares?
I'm 48. I'm 48. I'm 48.
Yeah, do it. I was
48
even
and
Yeah,
I've done a lot of things. Yeah,
good
during
for
those 48
you. I
years.
even I reached out to somebody today, a therapist who I did a podcast a couple of weeks ago, Eric Bricker from the Good Counsel in Boca Raton,
Uh-huh.
and I just reached out to him today, like, hey, listen, Florida is different with behavioral sciences and, with licensure and everything. So I reached out to him today, and I'm like, I want to get something here in Florida. So you're never too old to, I mean, my God, like I remember I was in grad school, and there was a woman there who in one of my classes, and she was like 75. So it's like, we're never too old.
Wow.
Yeah, we're never
Yeah,
too
no,
old.
but I just thought I'd be chilling by now. Yeah, and you know what I've realized too? My friends, like I know people now that are retired and they're
Yeah.
bored and they want
Yeah.
something to do and they're like, "Man, I wish I could figure out." And I'm like, "Okay, well cool then. I'm going to work to the grave."
Right. Exactly.
But
Yes.
yeah, but I want to get to it cuz I know you have very limited time and
I'm
I
yours
think
for
it's important. You
the
and I
rest
have
of the
spoken
afternoon. I'm good.
quite a few. Oh, sweet. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, hey, let's get into your story. You have such an amazing um story, and I think you and I vibed a lot and regarding trauma and the effects of it and man, it's crazy. Like have you heard of post-traumatic growth? Have you heard of that term?
No, but
Post-traumatic
I did
growth?
have a podcast called Post Traumatic Thriving. So I had that with
Okay.
an,
All right, cool.
yeah,
Yeah, well
post traumatic thriving. So it's kind of the same thing where there is growth after trauma. But the choice ultimately, it's like you got to put in.
yes. Yes, and a lot of people, or some people, tend to, after going through a lot of trauma, it seems like they hit a fork in the road. Either it kind of causes dysfunction or some issues, and I mean, some people recover, but a lot of people that recover, there's like this deep, like wisdom they gain. It's not academic or anything. It's just
No.
wisdom from the events and from the healing, and even the bad, the worst. They've learned things from it. And I had a guest on. His name's Jeff. I forget his last name. He's a good friend of whatever. I can't remember his last name, but he
Really
was
good friend.
talking about post traumatic growth. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we trained jujitsu together, and I don't even know most people's real names. I only know their nicknames.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
I've known them for 15, 20 years, and I don't know their real name. It's weird. And they don't know mine. It's
Is
like
that
working
where
at the
you know
CIA.
Brian? Is that where you know Brian from jujitsu?
Yes, yes. Absolutely. Yeah. He's that's where I know him from
Yeah, so
jujitsu.
no, you definitely, some people today I was talking to a former, or not a former, she's going to be a client of mine, because I do grief coaching as well now. And she's like, "Why is it taking me so long? I lost my husband 3 years ago." And I'm like, "It's been only 3 years. Give yourself some grace." Oh, my light just went out. Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah, it's okay.
It's
Or
only been 3 years. I think that's the thing with trauma and grief and going through any type of hardship is people think that like there's a time limit on it. Like, oh my God, I've been grieving for 3 years. When am I going to get over it? You don't ever get over grief. You don't ever get over the trauma. Um, it can it can either be your identity or B,
yes.
identify with it. But in order to get to be able to identify with it instead of like holding on to you, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I didn't get from attempting, a suicide in 2004 and another one in 2018 without work. And just, even though I did the work between 2004 and 2018, I anybody can have all the tools in the world, but once you have that ideation, that suicidal ideation, maybe I don't speak for everybody, but I know for me, that's where I go. That's where I go
Yes.
in my head.
Yeah,
Where a lot of people may go to drugs or alcohol, and maybe I should, so I'd stay on this side of the grass. But I go there in my head. And so instead of drugs and
yeah.
alcohol, I DoorDash pizza. So I think I need another
Okay.
two.
All right.
Maybe
All
I need
right.
to order another 2 months of Ozempic, and then we'll be good. But I think that's a really
Okay.
important factor for people. Is like it takes a lot of work. And with this elderly woman that I talked to today, um, and I just said you're now talking about it for the first time. You're talking about your trauma for the first time in 3 years. So for and shock can shock anytime somebody goes, it doesn't matter how like what happens to you. Trauma is trauma. Trauma is trauma. It's immeasurable. The only thing that I think is measurable is if you lose a kid. Like I've never lost a kid. I don't
Yes.
know that pain. That I can measure. I can't say to my sister, well, your pain is your pain. No, it's not. It's on a total different level. But when you're ready to talk about it, you know, maybe you've been stuffing it for 3, 4, 5 years, but you were in shock. And shock can last a really long time. I was in shock, I think, for 10 years. And then I popped.
Yes. I'm scooping what you're pooping. I completely understand what you're saying. I I was I had a lot of trauma pre 18, right? Pre the age of 18.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
I'm talking from 8 years up all the way up till about 18 years old, a good 10 year of just trauma, a lot of trauma. And it didn't come out like like how you hold it, or I call it putting it in your pocket, like you just deal
Right.
with it later. It didn't
Right.
pop out to my mid 40s. It didn't come out to my
Yeah.
mid 40s, and it came out like water breaking through a dam. It just
Right.
flooded the system.
And
Yes.
you that's
And
and that's why we need to have these conversations, because we need to reach the people before it gets to that point where it's like it's helping people recognize, okay, my gosh, I'm not me, but just in general, like, okay, I just got a divorce. I moved across the country. I sold my childhood home. My dog died. My kid died. My husband died. I mean, it's like trauma is change. Trauma isn't, I mean, it's everything from 9/11 to losing a kid and everything in between. So it could be loss of
Yes.
a cat, a move,
Yes.
a change, right? It's like trauma of the worst and everything in between. And to me, how I like to explain it is trauma is change. And especially when you're older. We don't like to change as we get older. I'm okay with it. I'm weird like that. I'm okay with change. I get bored very easily. I'm okay with change. Just want to stay put for a while. But I think if people can recognize that early on, like, why am I anxious? Like, okay, anxiety just doesn't pop up, right? Like your body's talking to you. You can't sleep at night. You got
Yeah.
belly aches. You've got heart palpitations. You're gaining weight, losing weight, and the same thing goes with depression, etc., right? So your body speaks to you. There's a great book, The Body Keeps the Score. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's a great
Yes.
book
Yes. And there's a workbook that goes along with it too.
that I didn't know, but The Body Keeps the Score is a really, really great book because we don't talk about how change and trauma and stress and all of that, like, it gets manifested in our body. It's somatic, so it's we need to reach the people before they get to that extreme point.
Oh, absolutely. And I would speak from personal experience when I was trauma triggered. Um, the thing that threw me off is that I didn't know what a trauma trigger would feel like.
Mm-hmm.
So when it went off, I couldn't identify it. I had no idea what was happening. I've had anxiety. I've had, your run of the mill different symptoms. But when I got this full on trigger, um, I remember when I went to therapy, I couldn't explain to the therapist what's going on. She goes, "What do you mean?" Like, explain. I go, it was like a combination of being, now I know the terms for it, depersonalization, where I feel like I was beside myself, literally.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't feel like I was present. And then I felt like my soul, that's the only way I can describe it. My soul tore. Like there's something, I've
Mm-hmm.
been heartbroken. I've been through a divorce. I've had very close friends that have died at a young age. I've mourned. I've had broken hearts, right? It felt nothing like that. It was a very sharp, unbearable pain. But then for me, I had the PTSD flashbacks from all the trauma hitting at the same time. And I was on the same page as you. I mean, I thank God that I had a good friend of mine named Steve stepped in and literally saved my life because I was going to basically end it for myself too. I mean, I was literally that
Mm-hmm.
close. I mean, it's such a sensitive subject for me that I can't even bring him on the podcast. I want to because it's a good story, but I won't be able to hold myself together emotionally because it was
It's so real.
he and I talking about it. It wouldn't trigger me to go back to that state of mind, but the podcast would be me crying, just crying and saying thank you.
Well,
I mean, it's
you
God.
protect
That's what it'd be.
you protect yourself. You need to protect yourself. That I totally understand too. And you're protecting yourself. And thank you for sharing all of that. And it's yeah, isn't it weird? It's basically an out of body experience. Because like you, right, where it's
Yes.
like, my God, I've had so many friends of mine who I've lost before. Nicole was a minutia of my depression. She wasn't even, can I tell you, Nicole was probably like that much. Like she had really
Hmm.
nothing to do with my break at all. And it was and that may sound really insensitive, but I think it's important for people to know that, because when I talk about, breaks and triggers and my mental health and my suicide attempts, people are like, "Oh my God, I can understand it." I'm like, Nicole had nothing to do with it. I got mad at Nicole when I got admitted into the psych unit, because obviously you're talking about things. But when I got there, when I had that moment on October 9th in 2004, I just had my anniversary. October 9th, 2004. I had the trigger 1 month before my wedding was my wedding was canceled 4 days before. And it took something like that for me to feel everything that I had never felt in my entire life, like all the losses of all my childhood friends. And when I say childhood friends, I went to high school with people who I went to kindergarten with. That's kind of how I grew up. We all went to like kindergarten together. Even some of the people like went to preschool together, but like kindergarten, elementary, junior high, and high school. Unless you went to Capo Valley or Dana Hills, then we kind of split. But at the end of everything, everybody always comes together after college. And but it took the cancellation of my wedding to feel everything. And then my mom's like, "Oh my God, my daughter's going crazy over a breakup. She's going crazy over a guy." Like, I'm like, no, I was very self-aware that it was a depersonalization, total out of body experience. It was like I was sitting next to myself. And I just remember my mom slapping me across the face. She was like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" She kept slapping me. I guess my face was falling, like a bell's falling. And
Yeah.
and I said, "No, Mom." I go, "This is something bigger. This is something bigger." And it wasn't probably until and then the next day, I went into the psych unit, and well, we can back up, but yeah, that was but I needed that trigger for me to face my pain. And like I told you, it wasn't until I was probably days in to my inpatient program that I got mad at Nicole for not telling me what she was going through. But up until that point, it was just loss and grief and pain and stress, but not from Nicole. Maybe the dynamic of everything that was going on that everybody witnessed, maybe the chaos around me, that could be, but I think primarily it was a whole bunch of unresolved grief.
Did you know when you were triggered? Did you understand what was happening?
Had no idea, but I knew something. I knew it wasn't just because of a boyfriend, because like you've had divorces, you have breakups, and it's like, okay, you cry, you eat your hot dogs and your pizza or whatever, right?
And repeat the story over and over to your friends, right?
Right? And it's like, oh, and but I knew it. I knew it was something different. I felt it. I felt it in my body.
Mm, yeah.
It's like as if I'm sitting on my mom's bed right now, like on the edge of her bed. I actually can feel the way I was feeling that very moment, and it was paralyzing. It
Yes.
was absolutely paralyzing. And but thank God it happened, because I would not be the person who I am today.
Yes. I feel you. I feel you. Yeah, I'm just resonating with what you're saying. I absolutely understand what you're doing. Like when I was depressed, I was to the point where I actually chewed through my cheek, chewed a
Oh
hole,
wow.
and I didn't even know. There's
Yeah.
blood and everything. Because I wasn't looking in the mirror. I wasn't bathing. I was doing anything.
Yeah.
I was just it reminds me, you ever see those movies when a building gets bombed and someone's just walking with the 9/11 pictures
9/11
where
lady.
yeah,
It
where they're
does.
just debris and they're just walking around like they don't. That's how in
That was it.
retrospect, that was me. Just someone dropped a bomb
Mhm.
deep within my psyche, and it just kadoosh.
Yeah,
It
it's not and you said the operative thing, your psyche. It's not like, "Hey, oh, I'm having such a bad day, and oh, I'm going to start to cry, and oh, I'm going to be sad and depressed." No, it's not that. It is a literal bomb dropped somewhere somehow in your brain, and I call it snapping. You
yeah, that's a good
snapped,
term.
you snapped, and I snapped. Like that is snapping. Okay, this is snapping. So when people use the word, "Oh, so and so snapped," so they didn't freaking snap. This is snapping.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about right now, right?
Yeah, yeah,
This is
yeah.
not snap. This is snapping. I remember I was sitting in our living room in Monarch Bay in Dana Point, and Denise we have a family friend of ours named Erwin, and Erwin comes over, and he's one of those people who has so much, and I have a lot of energy. I'm tired all the time, but I have a lot of energy at the same time, right? But
Yeah.
he was always reading numbers, like, okay, so this is your birthday, whatever. He calls himself like a numerologist, right? You're
Uh-huh.
going to get married this year. And then I was supposed to be married, Erwin. So he said
Mm.
something. He said the wrong thing on the right day.
What was
And
that?
he read my numbers wrong. Like, oh, you're going to get
Uh-huh.
married and all that. And he didn't know that my wedding had been canceled. And I was like, yeah. So I was like, you're wrong. And so basically, I'm 5'11. I'm a big girl. I'm
Mm-hmm.
tall. And my dad's 5'7. My mom's was 5'4", 5'5".
Uh-huh.
I got my full 5'11", big bosom self,
Uh,
go over to my dad. I almost hit my dad. I blamed
uh,
my mom and my dad for Nicole's murder. I
oof.
bypassed Dominique because I figured Dominique is gonna. I always helped her and she always helped me. Like we're the closest in age. So
Mm-hmm.
then I left the living room, and as I was going to my room to intentionally take a bottle of wine and some pills, intentionally, Denise grabbed me by the shoulders and she goes, "You need coping skills." Now, this is before I finished my education. We didn't even get that far when during my education at that point.
Uh-huh.
They don't even teach you coping skills in school, like in college. And I'm like, what are those? And it was just very, very loud, very dynamic. And she goes, I don't know. You just need to find out. Da, da, da. And it was a screaming match. And I flew her hands off of me. And then I went to my room and I was like, I'm effing done. I'm done. I hate life. I hate everything around me. And I remember I grabbed a bottle of wine because I always had one in my room at that time in my, during my chaos. And I knocked over Nicole's Tiffany lamp that she had left me, and I'm still devastated over it. And I knocked it over. I grabbed my red wine that was hidden behind it, and I grabbed a bottle of my Klonopin, which is a doozy, and I poured the whole bottle in my hand. And as I was putting the pills to my mouth, my sister came in and went, "What the hell are you doing?" And I told her this. I said, "Get me the hell out of here right now before I hurt myself or someone around me." I was enraged. Enraged. And that's snapping.
Yeah.
That's where your brain, your heart, it's like you're in a bubble and you are just in a heightened rage.
Yes.
I could have done some serious damage. Not only obviously I was about to do it to myself, but had I not attempted to do it myself, who knows what I could have done to my family. I mean, I was out of my freaking mind. I could have
Yes.
used a different word, but I'm going to.
Yeah, yeah.
I was out of my mind, but I share that with people because I I know what that feeling of I am done, I am tired, I have, I've hung in there for so long, and it's just we don't want to die. We just want the pain to die.
Yes.
We want the anger
Yeah.
to go away. We want the pain to go away. We want the depression to go away, but it's not going to go away until we really get the help that we need. And thank God that my sister Dominique found a bed for me at Mission Laguna. But back
Yeah,
then,
that's
it
good.
was
Thank God. No,
yeah,
thank God. Thank God that happened. When I talk about the pain of like prior to me experiencing my own like you, my own experience with the desire to take one's own life, I I used to look at it as like a very weak, you're a weak person. And I had a friend of mine that took his own life. I've known people like adjacent friends or acquaintances that have. I'm like, well, they just don't have the right stuff. They're not, because I always thought about, I knew I'd been through a lot, but I never processed it. But I thought I processed it. So I thought, dude, you did it over that. Like you said, where when someone's triggered, people think it's the straw that broke the camel's back. They think it's
Mhm.
that one straw, but it's not the one straw.
It's
It's that
not.
pile of straw, and that one was just, like you said, the one that broke its back.
That was the one
But
that broke his back,
it was
right?
back, yeah. But there's a whole
And you're in
pile.
a haystack. You're in a haystack,
eh,
like in the middle of a
Yes, yes, yes.
with a whole bunch
And
of
you're
bales of hay.
yeah, you already got a few blown discs, and your back can't really handle much.
Right.
But I remember explaining this to a friend of mine, because some people ask, like a lot of people since this podcast, a lot of people have opened up to me about their feelings, or they have a loved one that has taken their own life. And I said, look, for me, this is what it felt like. I said, I was so overwhelmed
Mhm.
with uh, flashbacks, trauma, just everything. The feelings that I was supposed to have in those events all came at the same time. You can't
Right.
deal with that. I'm not a good multitasker, and I sure can't
Get along with that.
multitask. Yeah, get all that. But I said, what it feels like is this, because they're like, well, did you think about your family? Did you? And I
My
said,
mom
no.
asked me that. Yeah.
I said, no. I said, listen,
No.
think about. And I use 9/11. I always use my reference. I said, look,
Yeah.
do you know those people in the towers? One of the towers that collapsed when that jet fuel hit them. The thought of jumping off a 100-story building
Mhm.
made sense. They didn't think
Mhm.
about their kids. They didn't think about their wives. They thought about, I need to get away from this fire that's burning me, this
Mhm.
pain. And it's almost like it's a self-preservation reaction of, I need to get out of this.
Right.
And I said, that's what I felt like. I didn't, if I would have thought about my family, I probably wouldn't even went that far, but I was so overrun, completely
Yes.
overrun. It was like a fire, jet fuel fire in my brain, it physically hurts. Did you experience that? Like you can feel the
Oh,
physical pain of the trauma. And I'm like,
physical pain. And you do people thank you for saying that because and that is trauma. That's depression. That's like everything encompassing that we're talking about right now. I could not get out of bed. It was physically painful. And I think I said it in my book too, because I describe it like this, like it's like you're just existing in this world and you have no skin on your body whatsoever and all your nerves are exposed and the wind is blowing on it.
yes,
It is excruciatingly painful. And it's not that kind of pain like, oh my God, now I got to do the work to get mentally well. No, it is physically painful.
yes,
It's
yes.
yeah. And my mom had asked me too, Kenny, she goes, were you thinking about us? And I go, nope.
Oh.
I said, I
And
was done. And she
it's not
asked
that you
me
were selfish, right? You weren't being selfish, like forget them. You're just
how
triggered.
I, yeah. And how I described it to her, I was like, because my mom, I mean, my God, how can a woman like go through World War II, survive World War II with bombs dropping on her and not feel
Mm-hmm.
depression, right? And I
Yes.
mean, how can you not? So and then how can you lose a daughter through a vicious murder and have your son-in-law do this, and not experience some sort of depression? So, but my mom just had, I'm sure she had it. She just had different ways of coping with it. Or like, hey, it is what it is. Pick yourself up by the bootstrap and carry on and go with it, go for it and continue on. It's just total different set of coping skills, totally different generation, total different culture. She's German, totally different but when she asked me, I remember vividly, we were at the island in the kitchen and she goes, and she like leaned in and she goes, weren't you thinking about us? And I said, nope. And I said, mom, I go, it was like I was in a bubble and nobody around me existed.
Yes.
It was just me. It was just me. And it's not being selfish because the world and nobody you knew, loved, thought of, ever met did not exist. It was like boy in the bubble. It's
Yeah, you're
just you,
disconnected.
totally disconnected. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not a tap out. It's not like I'm done, I'm tapping out. And so many people look at it like that, and it's not at all. It's your body and your mind saying, I think Jim Carrey said it. I probably will like butcher it, but he did say it in an interview. He's like, it's just saying, I don't want to play this character anymore.
Yeah.
Like you get so tired of, and he's not referring to his acting career. He was referencing his depression. And
Yeah.
you just get exhausted,
Oh
that
yeah.
nothing else matters. And I think until we really desensitize this conversation on, taking one's life, suicide, death by suicide, however we want it, whatever the PC is now, I think it's a critical conversation,
Oh,
because
absolutely.
nobody is immune to this. Because at the end of the
Yes.
day, look at all these kids that are walking this earth. They are experiencing, whether their friends have been trafficked or abused, or they're having dilemmas in school, or they're being abused by mom or dad, or being molested. I mean, kids today are experiencing so much trauma, where I want to encourage every single parent or aunt or niece who, it's like, we need to have this conversation. Because if you turn a blind eye and a deaf ear, not saying that my parents did, it's just, I thought I lived a pretty hunky-dory life. Like, I had a great childhood. I had a great freaking childhood. Okay, so I lost a lot of friends of mine, and I had to go to a lot of funerals when I was a young girl, like in high school. And then my best friend Harissa, and then my best friend Troy and Nicole. I mean, yeah, I've had to go through a lot of stuff, but who hasn't? So I don't want anybody to turn a blind eye, and a blind eye or a deaf ear, where, pay attention, because don't dismiss it as, oh, they're having a bad day, or maybe it's a phase. No, there's something going on.
Absolutely.
Like Aubrey Wyatt, right? Like, there was something going on. Not to dog her mom Heather at all, but it's like, there are, I want to encourage the people who are listening. If you're going through a hard time, please be vulnerable and talk about it. Because the last thing I want is for, I think her name was Heather Wyatt, right? Aubrey's mom, who Aubrey was bullied, and she took her own life as a 13-year-old, where it's like, I don't want any mom to ever experience that.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be 13. You could be 40. You could be 50. Once a mom, always a mom.
Yeah. Yes.
Talk about it. Be vulnerable. Be transparent. I always say, rather be on this side of the grass than on the other side.
Yes. That's a very good point. Yes.
It takes a lot of work to want to be on this side of the grass sometimes.
Yeah. And it's hard to talk about. It's hard to talk about suicide. It's just it's not hard. Let me take that back. For me, it's not hard to talk about. But prior to, I guess, being broken, like completely broken and rebuilt, where now I can talk about it. But most people, I don't think they can handle the conversation, and there's like a stigma. Like, certain people will judge. I was one of those people that would judge. If someone told me, man, I thought about killing myself, I was like,
Why?
I wouldn't even want to hear it. Yeah, I don't even want to hear, like, dude, come on, really?
Until
There's
you've been
kids.
there. Until you've been,
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's hard to get sympathy, but then now I think a lot of the stigma is going away because,
Yeah.
like say for example, there's a former Navy SEAL who has a podcast. His name's Sean Ryan. I don't know if you've heard
Yes.
of him.
Yes.
Yeah,
Love him.
he he attempted suicide,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, he talks about it openly, and a
He's
lot of
he's
guys from
still that kind of throws F-bombs every once in a while, right?
he's bald, real calm.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So he was like, do you know what? Of the guys that he served with, more of them are dead than are alive. That
Yeah.
from his era, and majority of them are from suicide, or a high percentage or something.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to think these guys prepared for the worst, like it wasn't like
Or
they were blindsided on the horrors of death. They're like, yeah, you're going in, you could die and you could see it. And even being prepared shows that it can still affect you. And even the toughest or quote unquote toughest, mentally strongest people, trauma is trauma, man. And
Yep.
and it hits everyone different,
Yeah.
and
What a perfect example that you use, because I mean, who's tougher than a Navy SEAL?
yeah,
I
tell
mean, everybody's kind of trained to kill if you go in, but SEALs are a different breed. They're different. And I had a friend of mine who tried, and he was like, no, he goes, I think he became a teacher. Like,
I'm gonna
not
go
for
the
me.
other route.
Just go the other way. And but they are a different breed. But any type of military, they're trained to kill, and they are, like you said, you could be the toughest of the toughest of the toughest, but you're still human.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely, and it's
it's I don't know how I don't know if we're going on a tangent or anything. I don't know how the military really supports like mental health now in today's culture, but I know years ago when we first started talking about it, they would actually lose their position. They would lose their jobs because if they reported any type of depression, or if they needed to go to therapy, because it's like, oh, well, wait a second, if you're depressed and anxious, I can't send you out. So they would lose their jobs. So I don't know
yeah,
how it is today. And shame on me for not knowing, but forgive me. But it's I hey, listen, the toughest of the toughest people. I always say, if you walk this earth and you breathe this air, anything can happen to you.
absolutely,
Anything
absolutely,
can happen to you. And I think the biggest mistake a lot of people do is like, not my kid, not my husband, not me,
yeah, yeah.
until it happens to you, either
Yes, actually,
directly or indirectly.
yeah. A good friend of mine, he's actually been laying low the last few years. He was Special Forces in the Marine Corps, and I actually helped him prepare for it by doing all the conditioning and stuff. Like I lived out there in Malibu Canyon, out in LA County,
Uh-huh.
and we'd go to the mountains. You'd have like these heavy rucksacks on.
Yeah.
I'd go through them, but I wouldn't carry that stuff because I'm like, I'm not joining. You're the one going through that. And at least with the special forces, their selection process is designed to weed out people that are not as resilient. The most mentally resilient people make it through. It's not the most athletic, it's not the
Right.
highest performers. It's just you're mentally resilient and you're reasonable. Like you can, think independently, but also work on a team as a team
Hmm.
member.
Right.
And when he came back, I asked him, like, I remember when he got out, they wanted him to renew. They were going to give him a big signing bonus. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do it. But I forget how it works in there. I don't want to say commanding officer because the guy wasn't an officer. It was it was a gunnery sergeant, was the head of his team. And there was like two other people within a 1 month period of them coming back from this one deployment. They were stationed right here in Camp Pendleton, California,
Uh-huh.
at Recon Raiders Team One or First Recon Raiders. They committed suicide,
Wow.
and he was like, "I got to get out." So he and I had a talk, and he told me that the problem there is that they're open to mental health stuff now, but it's shunned among the teams or the groups. Like everyone was like, "Yeah, come on, be tough, don't be a B, I'm
Right.
trying not to cuss, this and that." So he's like, "Dude, there's no safe place. There's no safe place. There's nowhere like." He said sometimes he literally felt like he wanted a hug, like after seeing the stuff
Right.
you see. Yeah, and he said you don't.
Just
It's
want to
just
hug, man.
yeah, it's just so alpha. It's the most exaggeration of alpha that you could get, and it's rewarded to being more alpha like that. And he goes, I got to get out because, three of the guys that very close to him, and one guy he respected that was his leader, the older, more wise guy that would get deployed with them. When those guys took their own lives, this is within a 4 week period. Three of them
Oof.
did. He's like, I'm getting out. I can't do it. And actually, he himself, he's laid low. He and I used to hang out a lot, and he just lays low. I'm not exactly sure what he's going through. We don't talk. I mean, we talk, but it's just surface level.
Right.
But but yeah, no, I absolutely, like people like Sean Ryan or this guy named DJ Shipley. I don't know if you're familiar with him either. He's also a Navy
Yeah.
SEAL, but he was SEAL Team 6, a
I'm sure
guy.
if I see him, I'd recognize him.
Okay, yeah, he was on Sean Ryan's podcast, and he was talking about the same things, and he was at the highest level that you could get at with even within his occupation, and he was like, it
No way.
destroyed him. It destroyed him. Yeah, he's like, you, it's
They
not.
see things that we most likely in our lifetime will never see. I mean,
Thank God.
thank God. And, God bless America and God bless our men and women soldiers. And I mean, thank God for them. But wow, that's why we do. I mean, I haven't done it. I could attempt to do it, but I'm not going to because I would hurt my arms. The 22 push-ups, isn't that what it is? The
uh,
22 push-ups or
oh,
sit-ups or pull-ups? What is it? Because
maybe
20
pull ups.
pull-ups, because
Cause that's
22
hard.
a day take their life. 22.
Oh my God, that's a
It
lot.
used well, I mean, it was kind of during, again, like we're going back a few years when it was, on social media where it's like, okay, do 22 push-ups or, the ice bucket challenge for ALS, it was, but 22 soldiers a day take their lives, or they used to. And I'm sure, to tell you the truth, I'm sure that number is on the increase. So, I mean, these are people, men and women at any rank with mental toughness, with resilience, and come out wanting to take their own life. So this is a very real conversation. And it doesn't, like what you said, it's like, it's like you're not being a B or a P or anything like that, right? It's like
Yeah.
you're human,
Yes.
and you're going through something, and you're going through a hard time. Talk to somebody about it. There's a support group for everything. There's support
Yeah.
groups for one-legged parrots. I mean, seriously, there are
Yeah.
like there's a support group for, I laugh about. I'm like, oh my God, there's a support group for everything. But
Yeah.
thank God,
Yeah.
you are not alone. The hardest part is picking up that phone and asking for help.
Yes. Well,
That's the hardest part.
one thing that's coming to my mind is that one thing I do hear complained about some of those guys, because I know a few other guys that have seen a lot of action in Afghanistan and Iraq. Some of the modalities for psychotherapy that you can get in other countries that have helped the veterans, they have to go outside the United States. They don't allow it in the United States. It's not FDA approved.
See,
So,
it's
so that's
that
another problem. So a lot of them are going to Mexico or
whatever works.
anywhere else. Yeah, and it works. It
Whatever
definitely works. Yeah.
whatever works, do it. Do it for,
Yeah.
and I'm talking to that person right now.
Mhm, mhm.
And I got tears in my eyes because and you're listening to two people who have been here, who have been in your I mean, we haven't been in your shoes, but it's like, gosh, do what, if you need to go to Mexico, go to Mexico. If you need to go to Europe to get the help, go to Europe. Whatever it is,
Yeah.
do it, because Kenny, you and I should not be here today having this conversation.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So
Oh,
we
yeah.
we really are, living examples of there's hope. But the hardest part is picking up that phone. And you know what? I don't know if who I don't know if I would have picked up the phone had I not been at my family's house. What if I experienced that if I was living by myself? Because
Yeah.
in 2018 I was by myself and I took pills.
Yeah.
But I picked up the phone after I took the pills. But I picked up the
Yeah.
phone. So it's just, I always say, like, have your five people. Have your five people. I've got my five people. I've got my friend Elizabeth is number 1, 2, 3, and 4 because she's usually picking up the phone, and of course my sister. Um,
Hmm.
but Elizabeth just seems to be my go-to, and anytime that I call. Um, She goes, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, girl, I'm good. Like, I just need a reference. Like, what kind of book do you recommend? Working with a client right now. She needs a good book." She's like, "Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure you're okay." So, just you have your 5 people
That's what's
and
up.
have their phone numbers ready, whether it's in your phone or on your refrigerator, but make sure they're people you trust, and
Hmm.
make sure that they're people you know and who love you and who know really what you're going through, and who maybe not what you're going through, but who really understand you, right?
Yes. Yes, that's very important. They need to be able to understand you. It's interesting
Yeah,
you're saying this about your people, your 5 people. I kid you not. Because one thing too, I got to jump into. We got to jump into. I want to learn more about you, but I just want to share one thing. Is that you know, I've been on the dating apps, right, dabbling around, looking, just seeing what's out there. Like an alley cat, right, getting
right.
outside, looking up,
I just joined
and
one.
no,
God,
okay.
help me, God.
Yeah, well, hey, there's a saying. Hey, there's two people you run into on the dating apps, and this is regarding therapy. People who've done the work and people who haven't. That's what the dating world is made of.
It's so
And
true.
so, and there's most at our age bracket, most haven't. You
And
know.
most haven't. And I have stayed away from dating probably since my mom died. I dated
Oh.
one gentleman, and then I started to cry at dinner, and he was like, "Oh God, I can't handle this." And I was like, "Okay." And then I was drinking a lot after my mom died, so I checked
Uh-huh.
myself into a rehab, and thank God I nipped it. Um, but he couldn't handle it, and then I was like, "Okay, you know what? Maybe right now is not the best time for me to start dating." And even after my ex, so my ex-boyfriend's son assaulted me in 2000. I think it was 2018. I don't even remember. Anyway, I have the restraining order papers to prove it, so I can dish those out for you. But after that, there was such trauma there, where he never, the boy, his son, never physically touched me at all, but he taunted me in every meaning of the word of abuse, everything, and it warranted a 5-year restraining order.
Oh.
What victim of domestic violence gets a 5-year restraining order? It's like impossible to get a 3-day TRO, right?
Yeah.
And the judge never even needed to hear my story, so it just shows you that this track record of this kid was so big. And so after that, that's when I was like, I I went dark. I went really
Hmm.
dark again, and that's when I attempted my second suicide after that. And it was um it was horrifying because I had nowhere to go.
Hmm.
I didn't have a job. My mom was living by herself. My sister lived in Italy. My other sister, Dominique, she had her son. So it's like, oh my God, where am I going to go? So I was stuck. So it was that trauma that stayed
Yeah.
with me too. And there was a reason why I wanted to share that with you, but whatever. I've gone through the ringer. So I've done work, but you know what? It doesn't mean that I don't have my bad days. I have bad
Yeah.
days, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, what I was going to mention before we jump into your story, because I have some very if you don't mind, direct questions. But the when I was on the dating apps, I there's a woman that I met. I'll just leave her nameless. And off of one conversation with her, because on the dating app, what does everyone's dating app looks like? Hey, my life's great. Look at me, I do this, and everyone's looking like. If you think social media is a sizzle reel of fakeness, um, dating
Oh,
apps
let
is that
me
on.
give you
Dating app is like beyond that. It's
that
beyond
was
that.
my point. After that situation, I didn't date for 6
uh,
years. I was like, I'm not bringing
okay.
someone into my mess.
Yeah, yeah. Or I don't want someone else's mess
I don't
and
want
it
somebody
getting into
else's
my
mess into
life.
my mess.
Yeah. But I was talking to this woman and we probably talked for like it took me about 45 minutes. I got a sense, but 45 minutes. I said, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" I said, it's very like direct, personal. She goes, "Yeah." I said it's going to seem weird cuz we don't know each other, but you've you've been like I think you have trauma. Like she goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "You've been I don't know what type, but I think you've been abused or at some point. I didn't laugh though. I said, at
Yeah.
some point, there's something going on. And then, yeah, she started crying. She started
Oh,
crying. And she goes, yeah. And I come to find out she hadn't been dating in years and she's struggling. She was mentally struggling. I literally referred her to my therapist, my EMDR therapist,
nice.
because she was like, I don't know what to do. Like it went from us like,
Like,
hey
baby,
baby,
yeah.
yeah, like hey, what are you gonna do if we get alone, right? Like it went from that to I was like, listen,
Oh,
EMDR changed my life. I said I had to go through a lot because I had complex trauma with PTSD
mhm.
and this and that. She was crying. She goes, I thought about going to South America and doing the 1 week ayahuasca thing. I thought about, she was like, all this stuff. I go, and she goes, how could you
EMDR.
tell? I said, yes. And I said, she goes, how could you tell? I go, I think it's one of those things where an abused person recognizes the abused person. I think that's what it is. I say, because you're just talking a certain
It's
way and they're
trauma
just,
bonding.
yeah, I sensed it
Hmm.
immediately. Not
It's,
immediately, it just built up as she talked. It took like 30 minutes to really peak. I couldn't even take it anymore. That's why I asked her. I said,
oh,
I said,
it's
hey,
trauma bonding. And that's, it forever. You go through trauma, you talk to somebody who goes through trauma. You and I, we can kind of laugh about it because we're like, we're good. I mean, we're good, but there's
presently good. Presently good.
presently good, right? But it's called trauma bonding, where we just have that ability to feel it, to sense it, and to hear
Yeah.
it, and to hear it. But
Yes.
kudos to you because you could have easily dismissed her,
Hmm.
easily, just like
Yeah.
majority of people. You easily could have said, "This girl's got drama. I'm out of here. I don't
She's
need any more."
broken.
Another female emotional chick, it's like you you easily could have done that, but instead you lent out an olive branch. You did, and you saved her life. In some, we don't know where she is now. Who knows? But you extended that hand, that olive branch, like, hey, this works. And EMDR, that's what saved me after the assault. That's what helped me too. So
Yeah.
EMDR, like my best friend, I refer so many people to EMDR.
Yeah. I feel that being a ambassador of mental health unofficially is my calling by God. Like I
Yeah,
feel that that's what I'll talk to anyone about it. I don't care. I don't care if they look bad. There's a lot of people, not a lot, but there's some people that have now they look at me different. I don't care.
who
I
cares?
don't care. Do you like you talk about your five, your
Yeah,
circle, your inner circle? That's who matters to me.
yeah,
If someone
that's it.
else, yeah, it doesn't matter,
I don't want
because
attitude. If you don't get me, I don't care. I got my five.
yes, but that
Right?
that woman wrote me probably like a few weeks later, and she told me she had started EMDR, and she sent me a text message and told me thank you, and I'm gonna continue this and this, and she said I'm not in a position to date, and I go I understand, I didn't. Of course, she's not in a position to date,
You're like,
but I
yeah, I
said
know.
I understand. Yeah, I understand, and so forth. But the vibe I got from her was actually, I mean, like major abuse, not light or it was major
Major.
physical or maybe even sexual. And she wasn't coming across as sexual. I could just It's just the energy she gave
There was
off.
something, yeah, there was something
Yeah,
there, but you gave her an opportunity. I mean, this is why you have a podcast, right? Where it's like you have conversations, and it's like, you know, I don't know if your listeners even know what EMDR is. I don't know. I don't know if you've ever really talked about it, but it's eye movement desensitization reprocessing, and I don't know how it works, but it takes the trauma and it puts it in a different part of the brain through a different, whether it's like vibration or tapping or doing this. And I don't know how it works, but it freaking worked. Like, I
yeah,
remember I was sitting in an IOP program, and um and we were in a horseshoe, and there was this young kid, 6'5", mohawk, beard, looked exactly like my ex's son. And he walked in through the room, and I kid you not, I was like this until he sat down. And he goes, why are you staring at me? And I'm like, oh my God, dude, you look like the guy who assaulted me. And I just said it very casually. He goes, oh my God, do you want me to leave? I'm so sorry. I'm like, no, I did EMDR. This kid really won.
Well,
Excuse me. I was like, oh my God, because this happened in San Clemente, California. I
mhm.
couldn't go to San Clemente. I couldn't go into San Clemente for almost 2 years. I had to find a total different Botox doctor. I couldn't go to my Botox doctor in San Clemente.
Yeah.
I had to go to another Los Golondrinas in San Juan because I couldn't go into San Clemente. So it's like I could not go into San Clemente. I couldn't see a 190 SL with a 190 SL little black Mercedes. I had a hard time looking at handicap license plates because this boy was driving his girlfriend's grandmother's car.
Mhm.
And so all these different things, they trigger you, and then somebody said, okay, actually it was Elizabeth. And she goes, Tanya, you have, you have PTSD. And I'm like, I don't have PTSD. Like, I never was assaulted. I've dealt with my past. She goes, you're smarter than that, Tanya. She goes, you need EMDR. And I did it. And thank God. But that poor kid, he was like, oh my God, do you want me to leave? I'm like, no, we're good. We're good. That worked. Like, if you need trauma therapy, go to EMDR. It works.
Well, hey, once we get off, once we're done with this interview, I need that. If you don't mind, can you send me? I have a new phone, and a lot of my messages are lost. You had sent this to me before, the EMDR person that you have out here, because I have a friend that he's in a real bad way,
I
and
have
I've
a
been
few.
like
I have
trying
a
to.
few. I have a few.
Okay,
I have my girl. I have Elizabeth. And then there's a woman who I don't. She may be retired now. She's in Aliso Viejo though. But you're
it's
in
all
LA.
good.
You in
No,
LA?
I'm in Orange County.
You're in Orange County. Okay,
Yeah, I'm
I
in
know.
South Orange. I'm in right next to San Clemente. I'm
Oh,
Rancho
okay.
Mission Viejo.
Got
Yeah.
it. Okay. No, I definitely know a lot of people out there who do EMDR, but I will refer you to my two.
Okay, because my doc, I tried to refer my friend over there, and she's completely packed,
Hmm.
and but he
Yeah,
he needs his
you need
real
it
bad.
handled. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's like
Got it.
urgent care kind of stuff. But
I'm gonna write
but here,
that. I'm gonna write it down. Okay.
but going back to with the EMDR, what it does is I've done a little bit of research into how it works, because it blew me away how well it works. It's bilateral stimulation of the brain. You got the right and left hemispheres,
Hmm.
and so when you have trauma, you don't, like, say your right and left brain are constantly communicating back and forth, like a internet connection. But when you see
Right.
something trauma, you literally, out of self-preservation, you stop the communication. Like when if you saw something bad, you go, oh, I don't want to look at
Oh,
that. You're trying
yeah.
to like hold it, and you stop it from communicating. So what happens is that if you saw something bad, like say if you and I were hanging out and you saw me get hit by a bus on a corner of 42nd Street in downtown LA, um, you wouldn't be able to go to that corner again because
Right.
you didn't process it. When you'd go there, everything, even the car sounds, you probably couldn't even look at a city bus if that was
Right.
what hit me, right? So
Yeah.
what the bilateral stimulation does is when you hook up, I did just the hand paddles, the vibrations in the hands.
I think I did the hand paddles, and then I did the eye stimulation. I did both of
Yeah,
those.
yeah. I started with eye stimulation and hand paddles and the headset, right? And they go, no, no, let's just go right to the hand paddles, because if the person responds well, which I guess I was a candidate for that, they wanted me to really focus on the memories. So if I'm
Oh,
looking,
oh, you can't?
yeah, I can, but with your eyes shut, I mean, it's so vivid.
It's
It
so
was
vivid.
nuts. Yeah,
That's
so
probably why Nikki said, close your eyes and we did the paddles.
yes.
No.
And, when I did that, so basically what it does is it processes it the way it should have in the first place without us intervening out of self-preservation. And the way it was discovered initially was that I can't remember, it was a woman. She was a doctor of psychology, and she noticed that people who were stressed out, which people still do today, is they go, man, I need to go for a walk. and they'll go for a walk, and it seems to do something. And she's like, there's something here. Is it the walking? So she did research in the running and this. It goes, no, it seems to be walking. And she realized, well, when you're walking, when your right foot hits, it hits the left hemisphere of your
Right.
brain. Right. She goes, you know what? Let me just, another way to trigger the hemispheres is through the eyes. So she
Wow.
started doing it through the eyes, and she began experimenting. And then they developed that whole system of getting the brain, because you notice there's a rhythm, right? There's
Right.
trauma
Yep.
processing rhythm, and then there's an input, like
Right.
everything's going to be okay. It's a different pace. I actually have my own EMDR machine at home, but
You
you're not supposed
do?
to do.
You're not.
Yes, I got my own.
You
You're
can't
not supposed to do.
diagnose yourself. You can't do this yourself.
No, well, I told my EMDR doctor. I said, look, I'm not gonna. She said, don't do trauma. So I have it set to input. Like today's gonna be a good day. I'm gonna. When you positives, it's a slower
Ah,
tempo.
I want one.
Yeah. So
Give me
you
that
could.
information.
I'll send you that information. And if you look it up, if you get a chance, look up EMDR for sports performance. People use it now because athletes get nervous on the starting line. It's like, you know what? You're going to go on the starting line and you're going to be calm. You're going to be relaxed. You're going to do well. Your body's going to perform. You're not going to hyperventilate. And it's like daily affirmations, but on steroids. Just how trauma is processed
Um,
quickly.
right.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Love that.
So
Okay.
yeah, I
I
use
learned
that.
too. Oh, that's
Yes.
great.
But so
Well,
that's how it works.
I get into sports. You're more of a sports
I,
guy.
I picked up a new sport, and I picked up a new sport.
Okay.
Yeah. No, and I actually picked up a new sport. I picked up a precision rifle, which is shooting long distance with rifles.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, so I've been training a lot in that. My school, school started 6 months, no, 4 months sooner than planned. But I was going to do something else too. I was going to get into bull riding. I was enrolled in a class and everything. Everyone in my family, like, you're nuts. I
A
was like,
bull
dude,
or like a bull, like a mechanical bull.
no, a real bull.
Oh,
And I was
jeez.
like, dude, I already had my gear. I even bought cowboy boots. I still have them. I was like, dude, I want to ride a bull at least once. I want
Okay,
to do it.
bucket list. It doesn't need to be a hobby.
Yeah. But I had to go to a class. First, you start with a little cow, work your way up, the mechanical, there's a technique. And I was enrolled in everything. And then my school, my cohort started sooner. They moved it up. And so I had to cancel my bull riding. And my friends were like,
I
that's
think that
God.
saved your life.
Not my friends like, dude, that's why you have all this trauma, because you are too much of a risk taker. But
Yeah.
but let's but I have questions that I've always wanted to ask you. Like we've talked a lot, before, especially when you live out here in California. But I wanted to go through your journey of um of trauma, and even the trauma of what happened to your sister and everything, but just like a timeline.
Mhm.
When in your life, you mentioned that you had a good childhood. When do you see, or when you look back, when did the trauma start? Like what was it that started like having a negative impact on you?
Well, yeah, I started losing a lot of my friends in the 80s in high school. I graduated in 87. So, a lot of car accidents, drinking and driving. There was in my opinion, there was a suicide. Where we live, Salt Creek Grill, or not Salt Creek Grill, like where Strands and Strands and Dana Point, the big cliff
Yeah.
there. So I had a
Yes.
friend of mine who slipped off of that. Just a lot,
Whoa.
just yeah. Oh, let's take just stupid stuff when you're a kid. Oh, let's go up the path. There isn't a path up there anymore, but because now it's called the Strands, but back then it was just like it was a big dirt pile and a trailer park, back then. And come on,
My
let's
kind of
just go.
neighborhood.
Yeah, it was just, we need the shortcut to the car. Yeah, and then my friend Amy, she died in a ski trip accident. The bus driver fell asleep. And the bus landed on top of her. I mean, just like I said too, these were people who I didn't go to school. I did, like, I knew Amy when I hit junior high. But like Michael and Denny, like, I mean, these were people who, and Larry, my mom. I remember it was homecoming or prom or something, and I brought out my yearbook and I go, okay, Mom, I go, who should I it was like Sadie Hawkins every for me, because nobody would ever ask me out. So I'm like, okay, well, shoot, I'm just gonna if you don't ask, you don't get, right? So I'm like, whatever. I go, Mom, I go, who should I ask? Who should I ask out? And she pointed out, she goes, Larry, ask Larry. And he died that weekend.
Oh my
And Larry and
goodness.
I, we were in CCD together. We shared uh, Big Red Gum all the time. It's my trauma really started when I was in high school. And in
Mm.
high school, that's kind of, I think it was on my way out. It was 87, or maybe even the next year. No, it was 87 when MAD came in, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. They came
Yes.
in, and because there just wasn't enough awareness. And, when you're a kid, you're invincible. You're like, oh, I can do anything, whatever, right? And then,
Was seatbelts back then? Was it the law yet?
no,
No.
no,
Okay. Yeah,
seatbelts
that's
came
even
in.
worse.
Yeah, seatbelts came in into the law, I think, when I was at UC San Diego, because my boyfriend at the time got a ticket for not wearing his seatbelt in Encinitas, California, when we were both in San Diego. And no, that was later, much later.
So that
But
definitely contributed.
yeah, and absolutely, absolutely. And then in 89, I think when Harissa was killed, that's when things really started creeping up on me. And Harissa was my best friend. She got killed in a hit and run accident on West Street in South Laguna. One of the reasons, not the reason, but one of the reasons why there's a light at West Street in South Laguna in California now. And I lied to her the night before she died. And I was kind of like, I don't want to go. I'd like wash the dog that I don't have. Like, instead of just saying, you know what, I don't want to go out, like I made up some stupid lie. Like, no, I got to wash the dog I don't have. And just ate me up. And she died. And horrifically, it was a hit and run. And I think I was at OCC, Orange Coast City College at the time, and wanting to transfer. I was either going to go to UCI or UC San Diego, and I applied to UC San Diego and got in by the grace of God. Got accepted into UCSD with a 2.8 GPA.
But it was a
Like
solid 2.8.
you can't even get into high school with a 2.8 GPA. And you can't even enter the grocery store with a 2.8 GPA anymore. And so but yeah, Harissa's death, I think that was the beginning of all of it. That's when I started my overeating disorder. I Instead of drugs and alcohol, I went to food. And I hid my paraphernalia, my empty boxes, my dirty dishes, my wrappers in coat pockets, and you know, just like alcoholics and drug addicts hide their paraphernalia, right?
Yeah.
And I did that with my food. And I would go on these. In fact, we were talking about it last night at dinner. It was my sister's birthday, and we were talking about, oh yeah, I went on. Oh wait, I won't mention it, but I gained weight. And she was like, well, why'd you gain weight? And I said, because I ate the whole 2 weeks in 3 days. So this is the thing. I needed food. I needed food to stay above water. Like food was my drug.
It was
And
soothing.
it still is. So I have to be really mindful of it. The way I eat, why I eat, how I'm eating. Am I emotionally eating? Am I eating because I'm hungry? You know, I'm still, once it's there, it's a struggle.
Yeah.
So one day, my mom was like, "Huh, I think I'm going to clean underneath my daughter's bed." So she took one of those long, little, skinny, little rakes and went under my bed, and that's where she pulled out all my evidence. Everything that I have been hiding and keeping away from everybody. Now, like I told you, I'm a tall girl, so I'm able to carry my weight well.
Mhm.
And tall, skinny legs, got the big belly going on. But so I was able to carry an enormous amount of weight. But it just came out. And she was like, and then my dad was there, and he goes, "You're such a beautiful girl. Why are you letting yourself go?" And I remember he like cupped my hands and he goes, "You're such a beautiful girl. Why are you letting yourself go?" And it's not like I was intentionally letting myself go. You know, you don't know what you don't know. I haven't gotten my college education yet. I was studying, you know, like just undergrad stuff, you know, all your general stuff, but not true psychology. And I go, I don't know. Like I didn't know I was sad. All I knew is that this was making me feel better, so I was doing it. And in 92, I got accepted to UC San Diego, so I transferred over there. And this is important because guess what? Wherever you go, there you are. And I didn't know I was depressed. I didn't know. And it was definitely compounded grief from everybody who had lost before Harissa. But Harissa was the beginning of the eating disorder. She was the beginning of my suicidal ideation. I thought, okay, if I move to San Diego, I'll be happy. I'll be independent. I'll be happier, right?
Mhm.
Grass isn't always greener, and it was actually worse. But it was probably the best decision I ever made to go to UC San Diego because that's where I learned about like, okay, something's not right. And had I ignored that, had I not been faced with that, it probably would have caught up with me way later. And it did, but I had a bout of reality, you know, in 93, which I'll get to. And I remember I was sitting in this class, this psychology 101 class. It was like, I don't know, it was like suicide 101 or something. It wasn't a how to, it was just like an education. And I remember this mom and this dad, and they were sitting in front of the class and in front of like, it was a lecture type. So it was about 400 people.
Mhm.
And in my own head, I'm depressed, not knowing it, everything in hindsight. But I'm listening to this mom and dad with this picture of their daughter behind us or behind them. And she was happy and she was vibrant and she played lacrosse and she was a um, humanitarian and she was with part of the Peace Corps. I mean, this gal, like, she was the epitome of joy. You could just see it in her face. But I related to her because her parents were talking about how she took her own life off the Coronado Bridge in San Diego. And I related to her so much that when I wrote my book, I wanted to track that family down. I even went to the provost office physically and was trying to figure out, okay, it was this class, this year, this time, I need to know that family. And I couldn't track them down. And also I couldn't find, there's a record of people who have taken their own life also on the Coronado Bridge. And for some reason I couldn't find her. And I would remember her face. And I just remember going, okay, something's not, obviously something's not right. And it was Christmas Eve, 1993. And at this point, and I had given it, I think I stayed there for about a year, maybe a year and a half. And it was Christmas Eve. My roommates, John and Ed, they were gone for holiday. And I'm like, what, 22, 23 years old? Okay, and I'm laughing because this is not a healthy 23-year-old. Curtains are drawn. I have a glass of wine in my hand. The I have a fireplace. I think the fireplace was on. I'm watching Casablanca, and it's like 12 o'clock in the afternoon on Christmas Eve. And I was like, I told my mom, I said, I'm not coming up for Christmas. I'm just not, I don't have it in me. I just told her I'm going back there right now as I'm talking to you. I said, I don't have it in me. And shortly after, Nicole had called and she goes, so Dita, that's what we used to call my mom. She goes, so Dita is telling me you're having a really hard time in school. And I said, Nick, I worked so hard to get into this school for 2.8 GPA. I worked really hard for that C minus. And I said, I worked so hard and I don't know why it's just not working. It's just not working. And she goes, I want you to write this down. And she goes, go get a pen and paper and I'll send this to you. And maybe you want to, share it, on your post or whatever, but I share it with everybody. She said this and it makes so much sense. She goes, delete the need to understand everything. We don't need to understand everything. Some things just are. And I was like, God, it just made sense because I constantly was asking myself, why isn't this working? Why can I do this? Why is this school so hard? Like, why me? Why isn't this working? Right? Like this hamster in my head would not stop. And then when she shared that quote with me, I was like, oh my God, how many years later? And I still remember it. I mean, we're going on 30 something years now from that phone call, from that conversation. And she goes, okay. She goes, so what are you going to do? She goes, pack a bag. She goes, pack a bag, go up to Laguna, finish Christmas shopping and all of that. Just go. And I threw out my wine, turned off the fireplace, turned off Casablanca, never seen it again. and her sharing that with me changed me. And I decided to withdraw from the university because I realized not only was I bringing grief and pain from everybody, especially Harissa, into my studies, but I was trying to put a square peg in a round hole. Like sometimes the university isn't a good fit. And how I found out about that is because I went to my academic professor and I laid in on her and I said, what the hell are you guys doing accepting students with a 2.8 GPA when we're the first ones wanting to jump off a bridge? Like I remember she had a dimly lit office. I remember it. It was, Thurgood. I went to Thurgood Marshall College on the campus. I could tell you exactly where the office was. When you remember, maybe it's kind of like Arrested Development a little bit, right? Where it's like you kind of remember and you're sometimes stuck in those moments in those chapters of your life. So anyway, I decided to withdraw, and then Nicole was killed the next year, and then life, more chaos happened. So it's almost like I didn't have time to breathe. And it was just one thing after another. And but our lives were torn upside down. You could only imagine that morning that I found.
Yeah. When you did that relapse you back to like a trigger? Did that trigger at all when that occurred?
The morning of no, I think we were just like, we were all in shock. Like for me, especially, I was like, you guys just saw her last night. I didn't go to the dance recital. I didn't see her the night before. I didn't want to go to another dance recital. I hate dance recitals. So anyway, now I wish I would have gone, but I didn't want to go to one more dance recital. And I think we were just all in shock. And I was like, that's not possible. You just saw her last night. Like, how can this be? You just saw her. Okay, well, a lot of time can happen,
Yeah.
But we didn't know how. And it was during the time where drive-bys were frequent. Remember up in LA, they were a lot of drive. And that's what I initially thought it was. I thought it was a drive-by shooting.
Yeah. And that's crazy.
Yeah. And but Denise knew right away. She was like, he did it. He finally did it. And I was like, I didn't hear her say that, but I was like, so, I'm so much younger than my sisters. So when they were going out and had a relationship with Nick and OJ, like, I don't remember Nicole before OJ. I only remember Nicole with OJ because I was 7.
Oh, okay.
I was 7, 8 years old. So I only remember Nicole with OJ. I mean, I remember beach parties and things like that, but but yeah, I mean, she left the house when I was like 8, 9 years old. No, Denise left when I was 7. Nicole left, I think, when I was 8.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that
it was just more, it was more of a shock. And then I just remember walking down the hallway, and because I heard Denise scream, she was screaming so loud. And then that's when I told her, like, no, you just saw her last night. And then I walked down the hallway and I saw my mom sitting at the kitchen table, white, like white as a ghost. And I said, Mom, is it true? And she was just like, she couldn't answer me. She was just like almost green, like purple white.
just
And
made her sick.
oh, it was horrendous witnessing what my parents went through. It was awful. Then I went back to their bathroom, and my dad, his forearm, his forehead was on his forearm, and he just kept pounding his bathroom sink. And I go, Daddy, is it true? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, but not how, not what. We didn't know. We just knew that she was killed. We didn't know how. And then the phone started ringing. You need to turn on the TV. You need to turn on the news. And then that's where we saw Nicole's body covered with the white sheet. So we
That
didn't know up until that point. We knew that she got killed, but we didn't know how.
that's a horrible way to, like, normally when someone passes or something happens, a tragedy, the family usually gets the news from the details from the police or law enforcement.
And maybe they did, but Tom Lang had talked to my mom and Denise. Maybe they gave them details, but I don't remember.
Yeah. No, but I can't
Maybe
imagine
they
seeing,
did.
but a lot
They
of families don't see.
said that she was killed, but not basically like she was stabbed and her head was almost cut off. Like it was
Yeah.
brutal, and not knowing that there was another person there. We didn't know that either at the time.
Yes. Yeah. No, I mean it in the sense that most people don't turn on the TV and see a crime scene of a loved one.
Right.
That's what I mean by, yeah, they
Yeah.
usually get like some sugar-coated, filtered, this is what happened, and you kind of have a general idea, but
Yeah.
this is like you
Turn on
can't
the
run from
TV.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turn
And
on
it
the
became
TV.
yeah, and it was a spectacle. It was everything from Jay Leno from the Night Show
Oh
to
yeah. The
it was
Edos, the dancing Edos.
the dancing Edos. Freaking Jay Leno's an
And
idiot,
I
man.
remember I had gone to a Jay Leno show. I got invited by a girlfriend of mine, and we went into the green room, and he goes, I just so you know, he goes, I have some OJ jokes. And I'm like, it is what it is. I mean, during that time, I mean, it was like, it was all satire, So it was just, I mean, we saw it everywhere. I mean, we see it still like on The Simpsons and stuff, So it's like Family Guy. I mean, I think even had something. So I mean, it never goes away. It's just I'm able to talk about it like this casually. It's been 30 years.
Yeah,
It wasn't.
yeah.
We would not like. I would not be talking to you like this had it been last year or 2 years. It's been 30 years, but it was a spectacle. It was a spectacle. And then I remember the coroner had called, and my mom. I was sitting next to my mom, and I don't remember her name was like Carmelita, or no, that was OJ's sister's name. It was something like that. And she said, my mom asked, she goes, were there a pair of glasses? And the lady said yes. And that's when my mom knew that Nicole had asked her friend Ron to drop off the glasses. And that's how Ron was delivering the glasses back to Nicole. So she could get, so Nicole could send them out the next morning for my mom. And that's how Ron got messed up in the picture. Ugh. Talk about wrong place at the wrong time.
Yes. Yeah.
Wrong place, wrong time. And then I asked her, I said, and then my mom got up, and I think she lost kilter. And I want to say, because AC, I think, was there at the time, and I think he caught her. But then I picked up the phone because I wanted to know, like, I asked the coroner, I go, what makes you do what you do? I just wanted to know, like, because that was brutal, right? So I asked her, I
Mm-hmm.
go, what makes you do what you do? She goes, I was a twin. She goes, I'm a twin and my twin was murdered and nobody was there to help my family. So, and that's what made her become a coroner.
That's heavy.
Yeah. I'll
That's
never
do
forget asking her that. And then everything
yeah.
else kind of just, I mean, helicopters. We had helicopters over our house. I mean, death threats pretty much every day. We had to have 24-hour security. For us to have any private conversation at all, we would have to go down to the beach because there was that empty parking lot over there by Salt Creek Grill. And
Uh-huh.
that's where like the news vans and everything were honing in on all of our conversations into Monarch Bay. So for us to have like any real important private conversations, majority of the time we would have to go down to the beach to have those. And
Did
then one day we walked in and there was a media guy sitting in our living room. I think it was from the National Enquirer. Because at that day back then you didn't need to lock your door.
yeah.
You
Well,
get a look
you know
at it.
what? Well, I have a few friends out here. One of them actually lives in Shoreline. He doesn't lock his doors still, dude.
Oh my
But
God.
yeah, but
Especially in
nothing
Shoreline.
happens. Yeah, nothing happens. Um,
Hopefully
this
nothing ever will.
yeah, I wonder, do you do you understand the magnitude of like that whole situation had on the world? Do you ever think about that?
I think I got that awakening probably in 2019. So there was a great documentary called OJ Made in America by ESPN. I think it was like 30 for 30 did it.
Uh,
And I think it won like an Oscar for best documentary because it brought in like the culture of the African American culture. It brought in the history. It brought in Rodney King, and then it integrated OJ, and so it was called OJ Made in America, and it was spectacularly done. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. Not to learn about him, but just to learn how, just like the culture and how it could have influenced the decision making and everything, and not only in the decision making, but the way just things transpire, and God, it
yeah,
was a really great documentary, really, really well done. But as I'm watching it, I'm going, I've lived this.
yeah.
Because I was young. I was 24, and I think I saw it when I was like 50 or 48. And I was like, "Oh my God," because I didn't see the people up on top of the freeways. I didn't see people in front of the courthouse. We didn't see the chaos. The only chaos we saw were helicopters over our house, and thank God we lived behind a gate because there were people, like crowds on all four corners, not 24/7, but we didn't see the chaos that everybody saw on television like you guys saw, because we came in through the back door. We came in like where the criminals come down to enter the courthouse.
Yeah.
So we didn't do the red carpet like the dream team did. We
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we went through the underground. I think that's when I went, oh my God, now I understand. Now I get it. Now I understand um the like one, like the racial divide that happened. The like my sister was a commodity almost. Like she was like people were making money off of her, making money off of him, making money off of Ron. I didn't know the magnitude of anything until I really saw that
Wow. That's not too long ago.
not too long ago. I didn't. I was like, holy, like what? Because I mean, we went through the cemetery. We went to the cemetery, the funeral, and there were thousands of people there, but I don't remember it because you're in shock.
Mm,
You're in shock.
yeah.
You're going through this, and my life had to go on. I mean, I had to work and pay rent, and I mean, I had to. My life was it had to go on somehow. So I did, and again, like I was so young. So I didn't see what you guys, none of us really saw what you guys saw. Denise did, because Denise, she was out there speaking.
Yeah.
And the magnitude of the awareness of domestic violence, that came out the second that Nicole's abuse came admissible in court. That's when I
Yeah.
went, whoa, okay. That was the only thing that I can remember and really honestly say that, okay, I remember that day very well, where it was admissible. And then my family just kept getting letters, like, the big canvas mail bags, like we would
Yes.
get those delivered to our house. So
Wow.
domestic violence wasn't anything new. It was always something that had always been in our society. We just didn't know about it. Human Options was in Laguna Beach for 15 years before this even happened. If mom and dad fought, we never heard them. They did it in their own private, like we never saw or heard mom or dad fight. So we didn't know what this thing called domestic violence was until Human Options knocked on our door physically and said, you need to educate yourself on that. So that is the one thing that I realized, that was the impact that this case had in our society, was the case of domestic violence and how it affects everyone. But the hoopla, the chaos, all of that, I had no idea.
Well, I remember when this all happened. I might have been like a senior in high school, and it just hit the news so hard. And my sister was in college, and during this whole trial, I didn't know a single person that wasn't watching the trial daily, like you would watch the Olympics or you'd watch
Yeah.
any high profile event. And even in college, there was like my sister, the students, there were large debates, like in debate class, or student groups would have debate discussions. It opened up a dialogue about domestic violence, about celebrity culture, like is he OJ treated different because he's OJ Simpson, and pro
Right.
athletes, and
A lot.
it just
Forensic psychology, forensics. I mean, it really
yes.
opened a door to a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very, I would
Could
say
you
it's
imagine being their kids and being in college and listening to this?
yeah, that's what I couldn't, the details, like because you got to think, I'm looking at, when I watched it that back then, I'm looking at it through young eyes, and like think I signed student loans, and like, hey, those are due in 20 years. I'm thinking 20 years, that's never coming, right? So I that was my
Yeah,
lens. Yeah, that's my lens, right?
right?
And but as I got older, and like I had my son and I was married, um I began to look at that case differently. Like,
Mhm.
that was someone's daughter, that was someone's sister, and all the details, even stuff that I'm sure that they would want kept private. Like, I have stuff if I die, I got stuff in the safe. I tell my sister, just throw the safe away, throw
Yeah,
it away.
burn it.
Yeah.
Everything was like, everybody wanted a piece of my family. Everybody wanted their 15 minutes. And
Yes.
everybody, like the helicopters were honing in on the kids, like wanting a shot of the kids. And it's like everybody just wanted a piece of everything. And I mean, the private life was gone, totally gone. And and Nicole's diaries were admissible in court. And I mean,
Yeah.
it was just, yeah, I mean, it was just, you don't think about your privacy. I would not want to be a celebrity, I will tell you that much right now. I would never want to be a celebrity. I mean, you
Exactly.
are never,
Or
never. I'm
famous, or famous. You could be
No,
famous and not even a celebrity, just famous for something. I don't even want to be famous, because they'll
I
go,
don't. Yeah.
"Oh, is that what happened to the kid that was stuck in the well?" Like,
Right.
and because everyone's
I don't
everyone's
want
on it.
that. I like walking down the street, and if people go, "God, you look familiar," and if it's not like to help save a life, then I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. I got a twin out there," like, because I want to be. It's I Denise is the one who's recognized.
Yeah, yeah.
And I wouldn't want that at all. Like. I mean, she's a great advocate. She'll do it, but I like my little quiet life with my two crazy cats.
See, I wouldn't mind being a celebrity or famous, but but I mean, I do mind. But what makes it bad? I'm saying I wouldn't mind like being successful, which would make
It's
you
the
famous.
exploitation.
Yes, but there's people that are vicious that say things like that are not like like think right now when something comes out in the news,
Yeah,
usually about 3 days later, the story's almost changed because the initial report was wrong.
right,
Like people just say, "Oh, I heard Tanya, her sister
right,
Tanya is in a wheelchair and she has a parrot on her shoulder," and they're like, "Oh, no, 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 never mind. She's a college student. Never mind. That was wrong." Like,
right. It's
and they
just
just,
stories get twisted, and especially in today's world, I'm like, thank God the case happened 30 years ago and not today, because
oh
with
yeah,
social media. And I mean, oh, it just would have been a disaster. I mean, if we would have taken the exact same situation and put it in today's time, oh my God, oh, it would have been horrendous. It would have been awful. But it I guess it
was
happened when it was supposed to happen.
yes,
It
I
would
agree.
eventually, knowing domestic violence, it would have happened. Maybe
Yes,
not on
and
June 12th, but it would have happened.
yes, and the quote, not the quote, but just kind of convey a thought that Joe Rogan, the podcaster,
Mhm.
how there he credits the case, the OJ Simpson case, with creating Kim Kardashian, and he's
Oh yeah,
explaining the connection.
true. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I think it's Vanity Fair. It was either Vanity Fair. You can Google it. It's either Vanity Fair or Variety. I think it was Vanity Fair. They did kind of like, how did reality TV come about? And on top of the pyramid was OJ.
yeah,
The diagram, like you talk about, like Paris Hilton, the Orange County Housewives, the Beverly Hills House,
mm,
Kim Kardashian, like everything happened because cameras were now involved into our lives, into the into the public sector. Yeah.
yes,
We
yeah,
we had we had cameras in the Menendez trial, but they weren't so invasive. It wasn't like we didn't see everything that Simpson didn't have, or the Menendez had nothing on Simpson. Like that, it was just utter chaos. So, but that I can say, I mean, that happened in '89. This happened in '94, and a lot with social media. I mean, CNN was created because of our trial.
yeah.
CNN did
I
not
didn't know
exist.
that. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
CNN was
crazy.
created. Like Nancy Grace and Dan Abrams. I mean, Wolf Lundgren, like all these guys, like that's where they got Geraldo. It was
That,
like,
that's that's when I learned about DNA. Like they broke it
right?
down. I had no idea. I was like, what?
Uh
But
huh.
The way Rogan explained it, it was so bizarre because he was like, well, there was this foot because I said, imagine if some aliens came from outer space and they're looking for intelligent life and they realize that Kim Kardashian is the one who broke. This is back when she broke the internet, and they go,
Okay. Yeah.
she's the most popular person. How did this happen? They go, well,
How did this
there's this
happen?
there's this football player, right? Well, he did this, and he had an attorney
Uh
who
huh.
had a daughter
Who's her
who made a
dad?
sex tape, and he like it just in her name, and he like he
All
and then
treacle from him. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
and he's like
Well, kudos to them, I guess. I mean,
nah.
whatever. I mean, that's a long convoluted relationship.
It is. Well, I think Rogan's joke concluded with,
Yeah,
there's
I
like, yeah,
love it.
there's no intelligent life here. If you
No,
guys, if that's what brought
no,
this, yeah, they thought
it's
we'd be
all
looking at,
good marketing, good marketing. But that so far, whatever. Let them do
yeah,
that.
let them
But
do that.
if my sister wasn't killed, who would they be? I mean, look at it,
Yeah,
right? If my
yeah,
sister was not killed, who would the Kardashians be? Nobody would know Bob.
yeah.
Nobody would know the Kardashians. So, I mean, eventually, maybe because of Reggie. Who was it? Reggie Bush? Was it with? I
Ray
forgot what.
J.
Ray J.
Ray
You know,
J.
so I mean, maybe eventually something would have come out, but other than that, I mean, the reason why people know the Kardashian name really is because of Bob.
Yeah, it's the name recognition.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
believe,
yeah,
but
that's funny.
yeah,
Check
they're
out
trying to figure.
there is something. I think it's in Vanity Fair. It's in there.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
I'll check it out.
interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. What was the dynamic relationship between your family and the Simpsons? Was there ever a family dynamic there, or was it you
Oh, with
guys
his
just knew of
family?
them?
With
Yeah.
his family? I didn't really know his family. I knew his mom. I never met his dad. His mom, Eunice, is a love, or was, God bless her. Good woman. And I mean, really just a really good, godly woman.
Hmm.
Um, and, but it's her kid. What are you going to do? And I knew his brother Benny, or maybe that was his brother-in-law, Carmelita, Shirley. Those are really like the only three people I think I really remember in his family. They
How
were
about the
rare.
kids?
They were rarely around.
They're really around. How
They
about
were
the
rarely around.
kids?
Sydney and Justin, my sister's
Yes,
kids, they're great.
yes.
Sydney, she lives here in Florida and she's got two kids. She's doing great. And then Justin, I think, lives in Las Vegas still. And
Okay.
and he's got a daughter. And no, they're doing, you know what? If anybody should be homeless, drug addicts, or dead, it should be those kids.
Yeah, they went
And
through a lot.
they're on the total opposite end of that. They really,
Good. That's good to
they,
hear.
yeah, they're doing really great. They've got good heads on their shoulders. They're good parents. I don't really have a relation. To tell you the truth, I don't have a relationship with them, but my sister Dominique does. And
Hmm.
yeah, and I see pictures through her, and so yeah, I mean, everybody's really doing well. They're happy, and that's the most important thing.
That's good. That's
Yeah,
good. So, yeah, no, 'cause I always wondered about that because you don't hear a lot of follow up about
yeah, and they're not
the
kids. I
kids.
mean, she's 39. He's I think she's 39, and he's 37. Yeah, they're not kids anymore.
Makes you feel old. It makes
I
me
know.
feel old.
I
Yeah,
know.
no, well there's not a lot of follow up on them, and I just always
Yeah.
wondered like what were they doing, and did like is Thanksgiving, does the family still come together, or did that trial cause of just a further separation?
We still no. There was a time there where, and I learned about this when we did our Lifetime documentary. I didn't know about this because again, I was living my own life, trying to, get going with it. But I guess when the kids came here to Florida, when the courts gave custody to dad, and then dad took the kids to Florida, there was a time period where we didn't see them. But I don't remember because I don't have kids. I never wanted kids. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I stayed away from kids. I was like,
Yeah.
my sister started having kids when I was 12. So basically, I've been around kids my entire life. So it was like, God, I just need a break. I just want to rest. So
That was birth control.
it was great birth control growing up in my house. And so there was a period there that Dominique shares where, um, yeah, I guess they didn't. I think my mom always kept in contact with the kids. My mom always kept in contact with them. But as far
Mhm.
as Dominique and Denise and myself, I didn't make an effort, but I think with Dominique, I think what she shares in the documentary, from what I remember, there was a time period in there when they moved here that the communication or the connection wasn't as strong or
Mhm.
or around. I don't know. I mean, you can verify that on Lifetime. But my mom, she goes, God, I hate talking on the phone. I was like, Mom, you're on the phone for 3 hours with Sydney almost every day. So my mom was the one who always who really kept that conversation going. Yeah.
What is the name of the documentary on you said
Well, it's
A&E
called yeah, it's on A&E or Lifetime. And
Lifetime?
it's called The Life and Murder of Nicole Brown Simpson. And it's a 4-day docu-series, I think they call it. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, I learned a lot about my sister's abuse in that in that documentary. A lot. I learned a lot about her. And but it was just really nice. It was nice to see her talk. It was nice to see her move. We shared videos, family photos. Like Denise and Nicole were both born in Germany. So
Mm-hmm.
there were like old photos and videos from, Germany, from days with Germany, and mom's in like a cute little bikini with the kids and the baby pool. And
Mm.
yeah, I mean, it was
Mom
really
had it going on.
cool. My mom was like, my mom was hot. My mom was hot. She was hot until the day she died. Yeah, she was an amazing woman. So was my dad was an amazing man. But yeah, so I don't know where you can stream it. I know you can somehow, some way, but I don't know. But
I'm
yeah, it's
pretty
like
sure there'll be a way to find it. A lot of times Amazon
I think it's on
Prime,
YouTube too, or
it's on
Amazon,
YouTube too. Yeah,
maybe.
Amazon Prime, you could pull anything off of there, even if it's not on their platform. It's like $1.99, and
Oh,
you could just rent it.
yeah, then you can watch it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it really gives an insight of like in Nicole's voice, like her abuse from her, not
yeah,
from court, not from the Enquirer. Like it's her writing, her experiences, and yeah, it was really well done. It was hard for me to hear. I went into therapy right away for it. It was hard for me to hear. I had a lot of anger, but I worked through it. It was hard though. It
no,
was hard,
I could imagine. Yes,
and
yeah,
hearing about it 30 years later,
yes,
helping women and children and men of domestic violence indirectly of Nicole is one thing, because you're educating, you're empowering, you're raising awareness. But when you're reading her diaries, and yeah, it was tough.
yeah, I can imagine. I remember the last time I had spoken to you over the phone, besides today, I had spoken to you was I think that
It was
you had
shortly
just
after
it was after OJ Simpson had passed away.
April. Yeah.
It was April. Yeah, I remember that. And you guys, I think it was around the. Did you guys already film the documentary at that point?
Oh
Or
yeah,
like,
yeah. I
yeah.
mean, this was done like a year and a half ago.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, then he ended up passing, dying or whatever, and
Yeah.
then it
In
just
April.
yeah, it really. I log on internet. There's a thing called Black Twitter,
Uh-huh.
where it's a hashtag on Twitter, or X as they call it. But it's used on TikTok now and everything. It's basically the black community. You just put Black Twitter, the hashtag Black Twitter,
Oh,
and it's
I've
all the
seen that.
black
Yeah,
joke.
I've seen that before.
Yeah, so people just went in on OJ after he passed
Well,
away. It's like the roughest jokes on him. They just ripped him. You
it's
know.
but at the
Oh
same time, it was this is it's so like surreal. Like this is somebody who I've known since I was like 8 years old,
hmm
and he did a brutal crime. But there's two kids, and this is their dad.
yeah, yeah,
And I think that's what people fail to see. So now they don't have a mom or a dad, and some
yeah,
people go, well, they're better off without that being it. And it's like, it's dad. No matter what, it's dad. So it was hard to hear. It was hard. I'm not gonna lie. In not like, oh, I feel so bad. I'm sorry that we didn't become friends again. Not like that. It was like because of Sydney and Justin, because this was their dad. And it was also like a closure. Like not maybe not a closure, but a ending of a chapter. Maybe the final chapter.
yeah,
It could
yeah.
be the
When
final.
Oh, definitely. I hope so. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that situation needs to definitely come to a close. Did
Because
does
Harvey Levin would call me, or his people would call
wait, who's Harvey Levin? Who's Harvey Levin?
You don't know Harvey Levin? TMZ?
No. No.
TMZ?
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
So I'd look at my phone, and I wouldn't even say hi. I'd go, what did he do now? You
Oh,
know,
they want you, they want your
what did
input
he
on
do
what.
now? but in April when that happened, I was like, they go, "Do you have a comment?" And I'm like, "About what?" "Tanya, he died." And I'm like, "No, he didn't." Like, you think we would have known, but the kids have privacy too. They have a private life too. So, but we didn't
Yeah.
know. We heard rumors. I think everybody heard rumors that he was sick, but we didn't know. So when I got that call, I was like, I called my sister Dominique and I said, "Man, I didn't have a TV at the time. It wasn't hooked up." And I said, "Minnie," I go, "Turn on the TV." I go, "Is it true?" And she's like, "What?" And I said, OJ died." And she goes, "Oh my God, it's true." And then I went over to her house right away. Yeah, it was, yeah. I mean, it's, you gotta, right? I mean, this is somebody who we've known for many years, and there's two children, and, um, and it was like, wow. It was kind of like when Cato the dog died. It was like, oh, that was a chapter. When the dog died, it was like part of Nicole died when Cato died,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yeah.
part of Nicole died when he died. So it was just, so now I think it's the final chapter
Yeah.
until something else happens, and God forbid nothing happens to the kids.
Yes. I agree. I agree. When you
Yeah.
did the death of OJ, what feelings did it bring out in you? Did it bring out any feelings, or did you kind of
Yeah.
already
I was sad. I was
you felt
sad.
sad?
I felt sad. I felt sad because of Sydney and Justin. I felt sad because it was like, I mean, here's this person who did horrible things, but it was like, you got to understand like the psychology behind this whole thing, right? Just the whole
Mm-hmm.
psychology of it. And it wasn't like what I said earlier. It's not like, oh God, I'm so sad we didn't meet up for coffee or lunch. It's not like that. It was like, wow, 30 years later, this is the final goodbye, and
Yeah.
it was just kind of like it was an end of an era, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
End of an era. And no matter what, like I said, like my heart ached for the kids. I mean, we don't talk about it with them. I maybe Minnie does, maybe Dominique or Denise do. I don't when I see them, but it's those are my personal feelings.
Yeah, you're definitely a better person than me, because
But
I
you got
no I
there's a lot of history, and not all of it was bad. I think that's
no
what
I
people, right?
no I get it. I understand.
I
But you're
mean,
still
yeah,
a
I'll
better
probably
person than
get
me.
ridiculed for it, but I have in the past too, so it's fine. But I think it was just, wow, like, is it over? I think that's what I remember saying. Is it over? Because he was
Yeah.
always in the news for something. Like, whoa, like it's over. So
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I'll never have to hear from TMZ again. you know, I'll never have
Yeah.
to pick up a call from Harvey or Charlie again. Like, it's over.
Yeah, I would for me, I mean, obviously, it's all. I just really respect your view on this, like, because I put myself in your shoes, and I don't think I would feel the same way. And this is someone and I'm probably bringing shame to my faith because I believe in God, and I believe in Jesus, but I would I
You're totally allowed. I mean, I
I
totally get
would
what I totally get what you're,
yeah
and I don't,
yeah
it's like
I don't care how many good times
I've had
I don't
30
care.
years of therapy for this, like
Well, you're in a good place.
maybe not 30, but since 2004, I think I've had just a lot of trauma in my life where I'm kind of just like, it's just easier to kind of approach things where it's like, okay, it's over,
Yeah,
and
no, that's good. That's
right,
very good.
it is what it is, I guess. I don't know. I don't know, but I think, it's like I said, I think it just goes back to Sydney and Justin. Like, there's two kids, and this was their dad. It's not like I miss them, because I could give a crap about the guy,
Yeah.
not like that. But it was just like, I think I just remember going, wow, it's over. Yay, it's over. the final
Good.
piece. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's how I know you're in a good place, and you're definitely a better person than
I'm
me,
in a
because
good place with that. I'm still
with
working on
that.
a good place.
No, I get it. I get it. I'm saying with that, you're in a very
Yeah. No, it's
you're in a good place with that. You're in a good place.
again, I think it just comes down to like you just kind of have to accept the what is. My
Yeah.
mom my mom said that day that in trial in Garcetti's office, she goes, "Okay, girls, it is what it is. We need to go and pick up the kids." And
Yeah.
that just stayed with me. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And there's it is.
Radical acceptance, right? Right? As they call it, radical
Radical
acceptance.
acceptance. Yeah, I love that book. It's a great book.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I just, when I put myself in your shoes, I just think about me. Like, I've grown a lot, s- mentally and spiritually and emotionally. When I was younger, that would have occurred in my life. Like when I finished high school, I probably would have tried to find a way to remove OJ from the earth. I'm dead serious. I would
I'm
have
amazed
hunted.
nobody did, to tell you the
Well,
truth.
I mean, I'm pretty sure, like, a lot of these guys have have bodyguards, or always someone around. Yeah, but I definitely would have. I knew my state of mind back then.
Yeah.
I know I would have. But even now, like with his books of, if I did do it, this, book and crap. I mean, like that
What?
right there. Yeah, no, those things
I
right
did
there. I'm
it.
like, yeah, if I
Hmm.
did it, yeah, those things. It just, so if he would, when he passed, like me, I think I have a more negative opinion of him right now. Like, I still have a negative opinion of him. Where
Well,
that if
I will say when I was scrolling the other night, I saw a picture of him and I did get creeped out a little bit. I was like, oh no. Like, and then I was like, oh yeah, he can't do he can't do anything anymore. Like he's not here. But seeing his face, I will admit it did freak me out. And then I was in storage the other day to get some things and I saw some family photos and I was like, okay. Yeah, it's surreal. It's just
yeah,
it's I'm not removed from it. And who knows? I could be thinking who knows? I mean, if I wasn't on this side of the case, if I was on your side, um right? Like removed from it, who knows?
hmm
Maybe I'd have the same opinion as you, but it's like there's I think we just my mom always said be strong for the kids. She always said that. She just goes,
yeah,
just we're here for the kids. And the kids were always my mom's priority, no matter what. Don't let them see you cry. We are here for the kids. The TVs were off in our home. There was only one TV on, and that was the one, or that
hmm
could be turned on, was the one in my mom and dad's room. All the other TVs were disconnected and only VHS, the tapes, the only VCRs were connected.
You're aging us. You're aging us. You're aging us here.
So we had no exposure. It's almost like I know VHS. It's like Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers.
He's like, yeah, and we had it programmed to record Cosby Show and whatever else, right?
Linked to VCR so we could tape it. No, but we kept life. We tried to keep life as normal as possible for them,
hmm
and I think we just kind of continued that way, where it's like
Good.
create normalcy for them. Yeah, and every time we would go over to the grocery store, we would call the grocery the people, and they would say we would say, well, I wouldn't, but my family members would, and go, hey, listen, we're coming over with the kids. Can you take the tabloids down? Can you put a piece of paper or
Mm-hmm.
cardboard? So the kids were like, none of the kids, not just Sydney and Justin, none of my nieces and nephews were ever exposed to
Man,
anything.
your family's wise. A lot of people don't take those steps. They don't think of those things. They just, I
It
don't
was
know. They
just
don't do that. Is your mom,
dad.
wait, is your mom German? Because you said your
Uh-huh.
sister was born in, oh, so your mom was, she was,
Yeah, mom's
okay.
German. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my dad was stationed over in Germany, and
Mhm.
yeah, and they met at the Stars and Stripes. My mom was the secretary and dad
Oh, that
was
newspaper.
yeah.
Yeah, I know what that is.
Yeah,
Yes.
my mom was the secretary for Stars and Stripes and my dad was director of operations, I think, for the newspaper.
Oh,
And
okay. Yeah. I think the Stars and Stripes still might be
She
around.
here.
What? He's like, so you want to raise?
Yep. But
Yeah.
that's how we
No.
met, and then Denise and Nicole, I think, moved here when they were 6 and 8.
Okay, now I don't know. I don't mean to play any stereotypes, but my ex-mother-in-law was German, right?
Uh-huh.
I was married. I was with my ex-wife. I think we were married 11 years plus 3 years of dating, like 14 years. And her mom was very kind of like emotionally. She was a wall, like she wasn't
Yeah,
mean, but she was just.
stoic.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen her cry. Like that whole time, like though
Yeah.
through tragedy or different
It's
things, she's
different. They're
just.
different. I think it's just because they had a lot. They had the war, and it's kind of like, yeah, I don't know how old she is. I mean, she's probably younger than my mom, but I don't know. It's, yeah, Germans are different. They're hardy. They're hardy. Denise is hardy. Nicole's hardy. Mom's hardy. Like, Germans are just hardy. Like, bring it. I can handle it.
Yeah, I would say right now, if I did the math, I know she's still alive, and she's older than my mom, and my mom is 75.
Okay. Yeah. So
So
she probably was not even born yet. Maybe. Yeah. She probably wasn't
yeah,
born yet. But no, I think culturally they are just a different breed. They're like the pit bulls of all cultures, I think. They're just like,
yeah,
I
they're
can
uh,
it,
just
they're tough. I
they're
wish I
trauma
had
proof.
that.
They're trauma proof.
They
They can
really
take
are trauma
it.
proof. Like things can affect them, but it's like they don't wear their heart on their sleeve at all. They're not emotional creatures.
Yeah.
If they are, they do it privately. Um,
Yeah.
and it's yeah, they're just a different. Denise and I are totally different. Nicole and I totally different. Dominique and I totally different. But I think I think if I were to be, I don't know who I should have asked my mom and my dad before, and I'm looking at a picture right now. I'm wondering like who I was most alike, because I'm like, I'm not tough like Denise and Minnie, and they're tough.
Mm.
They can handle a lot, But
And which one lives in Italy?
Denise,
Denise.
yeah,
Okay.
Denise lives
I
in Italy.
I lived there when I was younger. I like
Yeah,
it there. Yeah, I want to
yeah.
go back.
She lives up in northern Italy, so yeah, it's she's here visiting right now, and
Uh-huh.
well, no, actually, right now she's traveling for speaking, but overall, she's visiting here for now, for I think for like a month or two.
What made her move to Italy? Is that just
Her
she decided
husband,
or husband?
yeah,
Okay.
her husband's Italian. So when mom died, she kept going back and forth. She kept traveling. They've been together for like 19 years or something like that. And but when mom died, she was like, okay, it's time to go to Italy full time. Like, you were here for me with my mom and my dad. Now, it's time for me to be here for you, because that's where he's from,
Mm-hmm.
and he's very Italian, very Italian, and can't understand a word the man says. He's so Italian. I love Jean Paul, but I'm like, what did he say? And so yeah, they decided to move there full time, and but she comes to visit, so which is nice. They've lived there now for 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah,
Dude, that sounds like a
it's still
fantasy.
fairly new, still fairly new.
So your mom left Europe and your sister went right back.
Went right back. And
Yeah.
Denise loves Europe. It's her culture. She was born there, So I think she just, she worked there, she traveled there, she lives there. I think it's just in her DNA to be European.
Yeah, well, Europe, it is a different vibe. I liked it. I I love being an American. I want to say that first because I don't want anybody to say anything bad about me about like talking good, like America first. But
Yeah,
Europe, there to me,
great. We're lucky.
it's yeah, we're lucky. not
We
doing too
are.
hot right now. We got a lot going on, and got our country has our hands in a lot of drama. But um, the Italy, it was just, to me, it was just a beautiful, nice place, and the culture was just so nice. Everyone just seemed, there's a different energy there. It doesn't feel like,
I don't know. I think I went when I was like 9. Yeah, I think I was 8 or 9. And
yeah.
so I don't remember. I just know it through pictures. I know it through Under the Tuscan Sun. I know it through movies. you know, but it's like, I haven't been there. So I don't know it. But I'd like to go visit. I think the special thing about Europe is the history. There's just so
Oh
much
yeah.
history, and
Oh yeah.
I mean, America's like what, a little over 200 years old. Whereas, right? Did I get that right? It's a little over two.
I
Was
think
it
so.
300?
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know.
I don't
You're
know.
asking the wrong person. Wait,
I know.
maybe 300 officially two,
1775?
but
Was it 1775?
76.
1776. Okay, so somebody else do the math. But
Yeah.
when I went to Paris, when was this? This was 2015, maybe. I don't know. I
Mhm.
had gone with a boyfriend of mine at the time, and I was like mesmerized by just the architecture. Just like, wow, just the history.
Yeah.
Here in America, we have machines to do all the work, right? Majority of the time to build and all of that. I mean, who builds a gargoyle with their bare hands this day and age? You know what I mean? It's like, does that even happen? I mean, of that magnitude, like the size of my apartment complex, right? It's like there's this
Yeah.
big gargoyle hanging in the Notre Dame. But no, it was just it's a history because things are
Yeah.
thousands of years old.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
remember I remember when we went to Germany, I was 9, and I remember cleaning out my grandparents' house, and there were bullet holes still in the wall from the war.
Oh
They
my
kept it
goodness.
there. Yeah, they kept them there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I remember that vividly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's history there.
See, my siblings have been there more as adults. We were just there when we were young, but we were fortunate. We went to military school,
Oh.
and it we had, like, I had like a field trip every week. So we hit up all the castles, mozzarella cheese factories, wineries,
Nice.
bakeries, and so the culture of Italy is so ingrained that, like, I still remember, like, I go on Google Street View and I could, oh yeah, this is, oh, that bakery's gone, or this is, I know my way
And you
around still.
know,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah,
Oh, so nice.
yeah. So I was like, I
You'll
need to
never
go
forget that.
back.
You'll never forget that.
Yeah, I want to go back, but I want to go back with someone special. I don't want to go on a guy's trip because that won't, I want to go with, hopefully things work out with this lady friend I've been chatting with
Nice.
off the dating app, and maybe
Who knows? I think I went to Paris with the wrong guy.
see, I don't want one of those trips.
Go to like the most romantic city in the world, and you go with like the most unromantic person known to man. So I was like, you know what? I'm just here to enjoy the museums and the architecture. I made my own fun.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm worried about. I don't want a trip like that, and not to knock anyone on the dating apps because I'm on it myself, but it feels like in my age group, it feels like I'm dumpster diving for scraps. Like that's what it feels like
Well, I
leftovers. Like this is still good. This is still good. This might work. This is still.
I saw something on Drew Barrymore. She had somebody from SNL. I forgot what the woman's name is, but anyway, she's on SNL, and Drew said something like, "Oh, I'm on some dating apps or whatever." And the lady goes, "Okay, let's just put all the apps in one place and call this is what's left.
Yeah.
This is what's
Yes.
left."
Yes. There's so much
I'm
trauma,
on a dating app too, and I'm like, oh God.
but there's so
Okay.
much trauma. There's so much trauma. Like, I would say, let's say 40 and above. Let's make a big gap. 40 and above. There's just so much trauma there. They're either
Yeah,
been divorced with kids,
there's
and that
issues.
divorce, yeah, and that divorce happened in a bad way, or someone, they're a widow,
There's
or they've lost a
baggage.
child. Yeah, there's something,
Yeah.
man. And it's just, or I've run into people, like I've met people in their 50s. No offense, no offense. I say this with peace and love, but I met people, we don't get past the phone stage, is they're 50 years old and they've never been in a relationship longer than 2 months. Like they just
Yeah.
can't maintain. And to me, I've
I
realized,
pay attention to that. I'm like,
yeah.
huh, because I go older. I'm 55, right? So I go like 60, 61, and I'm like, you've never been married, you've never been in a relationship, you've never had kids, you don't want kids. I'm fine with that part, but I'm like, it doesn't make you bad. But I'm like, it doesn't mean I'm not going to give you a chance. But it's like it's a little bit of a red flag for me,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
With
To
a
me, it's a
woman,
big red flag.
yeah, with a woman, it's kind of like, okay, she can make up that decision if she never wanted to get married or not have kids. But I mean, I don't know if I'm being discriminatory. I mean, I don't know right now, but I look at it as a red flag. I'm like, okay, well, I did go out on a date a couple of weeks ago, and we got to talking about kids, and he's like, "Do you want them?" And I go, "No, never had them, don't want them." And I said, "Do you?" And he goes, "Yeah, I have a 16-year-old, but I don't want it."
Oh my God.
I don't know
See,
if it's a
that's
boy.
where that
I don't know if it's a girl. All I know, it's a 16-year-old it. And I was like, oh my God, did you
red
just
flag.
say? And the way he said it, like he kind of brought me in because maybe it's kind of almost like he didn't want anybody else to hear. He goes, yeah, he goes, I have a 16-year-old, but I don't want it. I'm going, oh my God.
Let me guess. Let me guess.
Never heard from him again.
Yeah, that sounds like a kid from like a short term or maybe even one night stand.
Yeah. I was
I've heard.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was
No.
like, not cool. This is your kid. At the end of the day, it's your kid. Is it a boy? Is it a girl? Huh.
No,
Okay.
but that
Was
it,
it?
right?
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot in that because I know someone. There's a woman I used to date, and we broke up, but we kind of can maintain communication. I'll leave it vague because people will know who I'm talking about if I say more. And she would use abortion as birth control, and so she would go, "Oh, you're pregnant again? Yeah, but I'm not going to keep it." I go, "Oh, it's an it." I noticed that, like the people that are getting abortions, and I noticed that
Wow.
with other people, they'll say it.
It.
They don't personalize
Wow.
it. Yeah,
Interesting. Yeah, they don't
yeah.
personalize it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, I was
so
like,
I
"Ah."
don't know where this, but I figure, I mean, I need more friends than Michael's, Home Goods, Ulta, TJ Maxx, and Starbucks. Like, and my sister. So I need to make some friends, and let's and I don't want to die alone. I want to
You
get
have two
married.
cats. You have two cats. What are you talking about? You have two family members. You have two lovers. Two lovers in your home.
One lover. I have one that I just feed.
Okay.
My other one is a lover. The other one's like, stay away from me. Just give me food.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there comes a time where you need to put yourself out there. I mean, I'm going to be 55. I don't want to die alone. I want to meet that special someone. And I am a relationship person. I am. Do I need to be in a relationship to be happy? Um, Honestly, yeah, I think I do. Even though I'm happy by myself and I'm happy with me. I'm happy. I'm totally fine being by myself. But I think I'm a better person if I'm in a relationship. I'm just a relationship person. And I've stayed away from it for quite some time because I needed to work through my own stuff. I mean, it was like the trauma with the ex-boyfriend's son, then the loss of my mom, and then the loss of my nephew, and then I was like crying at dinner. I'm like, I don't want to bring anybody into this, So I was like, okay, I got to be able to have a conversation about mom and Aaron without crying, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
right? And
You
so I,
you
I
gotta.
worked on
Sorry.
myself.
Yeah, no, is that whole it's me, it's not you. You have to end it's me, it's not you.
It's
Well,
me too.
it sounds like you're somewhat of an empath, right?
Huge, yeah,
Huge. Okay,
and
I didn't want to go too far on that, but you because you sound like me, and I'm an empath, and the way you're
yeah,
talking about um how things affect you. You feel
Yeah,
it. You feel the
I
emotions.
feel
You
it.
can feel the heaviness of everything.
I can walk into a room and I can feel energy like no tomorrow.
Same here. Same
Like,
here.
whoa, what? Like today, I was at lunch with somebody, and we got to talking about politics, which we probably shouldn't have. But I thought it was a new girlfriend, somebody who I could go do stuff with, and it was like quiet, and I'm just like, oh come on, and I called her out on it. I'm like, really, you're gonna get quiet? Can't we like see different opinions, different points of views, and feel
No,
like
no,
you're a grown ass woman, you know?
no.
But it was like, I mean, I felt that shift. It was really, really crazy how like I felt it. I not only saw it, but I felt it. It was crazy.
Yes, yeah. Well, the thing is too is it's I'm the same way, but also talking about the interaction with this person is that I would say in our age, in our generation, or when people get to our age, our place in life is that they're less tolerant. Like, if
Yeah.
you're 20 years old and you got a friend who believes in Trump and you believe in Kamala or vice versa, you don't care.
Right.
Hey, let's go to the movies. Now they're like, oh,
Everybody's
you hate our country.
can't
Like,
we
it's
just
just,
right? Can't we just all get along? Like I mean, that's the one thing about Rodney King, man. Can't
yeah.
we all just get along?
Yeah. Yeah, I should put on a Jerry Crow wig and give that speech myself. I'm just kidding.
Seriously, I mean,
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
like there's such truth in that statement. Can't we all just get along? And but the energy, yeah, I'm an empath. Um, in the way that somebody said you have such a beautiful heart, and I'm like, thank you so much. But having my heart sometimes hurts. There's a lot of pain in
Oh,
it.
hurts a lot. And it hurts too is when you could tell when someone's being mean,
Yeah,
it hurts more.
yeah.
Someone's like, hey, just toughen up. Like,
No, it hurts.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's like,
hurts.
ooh, that's a jab, right? That's a jab. Or somebody said to me the other day, like, how come you don't like me? And I'm like, I feel like you don't like me. So it's like,
Yeah.
it just shows you how so different people, can be, where it's
Yes.
like, because I felt that energy from, not from the lady from today, but from somebody who said that to me the other day. I was like, really? Because I have a feeling you didn't like me. So maybe I was giving off the energy that I don't like you, but I do like you. So it's just like, so it's just like, just girl stuff. We just needed to like dash it out and be done with it.
Hey, one thing I was going to mention too about that dating thing on the filtrate. Not I in my head I thought this. I didn't say it out loud, but like filtering people out by filling them out. You know how we're
Uh-huh.
talking about like you're over 50 or over 40, never been married, never been in a
Relationship.
whatever relationship. Sometimes I even ask too. I go, have you ever been in love with someone before?
Ooh,
And if they go, and they start thinking, I already know because you
the,
know the love. If it's a real
you know
love,
what?
yeah, you're like,
Yeah,
oh, when I was 20, I met this woman out like there's something. But
there's
they gotta
something,
really, yeah, they gotta dig for it, and that's already know. Like this
right?
is probably not gonna work with us. There's it's the pattern set in this person already.
Ex- it-
They're
it's
you
so
know,
true. It's so true. That's
yeah.
a good question. I never even like, have you ever been in love? And then there was another question I heard too, where it's like, um, oh my God, oh shoot, I got it, and it comes across my stream every once in a while. I got to save it. Kind of like, um, oh, it was insinuating like, or asking a question like, oh my God, I'm gonna butcher it, but it's kind of like, you know, instead of saying, "Oh, are you dating?"
Hmm.
saying something like, do you think somebody, oh, are you in a relationship? And if they say no, this is it. Then you ask the follow-up question, is there somebody out there who thinks you're in a relationship with you?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because like
Yes.
there's a girl out there who goes, "Oh my God, relationship, I'm meeting this great guy," but then he's out there on Bumble and Match, and he's just having a good old time, but somewhere, some way, or somehow, somewhere, or somewhere, there is somebody out there who thinks that they're in a relationship with you. And I thought that was a
Yes.
really good question.
Yes, that is a very good question.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and these dating apps
All these
it's
questions when you start dating, it's like, oh God, can we just like go for coffee?
well, it's different now. I've said this before is that the modern dating, especially with the apps, it's very unnatural. You
Yeah.
know, the way like say you and I when we were younger, as us like you'd meet someone in passing or get connected through mutual
Or at
friends
school or at
or at
work.
school, yes, or through a hobby, say you're in part playing tennis somewhere and you meet someone or whatever. But
Yeah.
now you have an and so you have an app that you put in your profile of what you think you are, right? Like your resume,
Right.
which is all buffered, fluffed up, and it starts matching you.
It's
So,
all AI.
yes, but let's say I match with you, right? Say I match with you. We're
Right.
talking, but then the app's like, "Hey, Kenny, here's someone that matches even more." And
Right.
it's like someone keeps throwing you candy, you know? And it's like how do you um how do you navigate that? And then people start going like say if you and I were talking and then you find out that I'm going out on dates with other women, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
"Hey, we just met. We really don't know each other." And I'm
Right.
thinking like, "Dude, no, 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 no. If you and I met the traditional way, say if I worked in the
Yeah.
office and you worked the office next door, but then all of a sudden I start dating other women in the office too,
You're
that's
gonna know
bad."
about it. Yeah, it's bad.
But it's bad. But
But
why
it's
is it not bad on
bad on this. You're
yeah,
right.
like it's just unnatural.
It is.
It's
It's very unnatural. And, here, because back home, I loved playing tennis. I loved swimming. It's too hot. I mean, now the weather's cooling down, so it'll be nice.
uh-huh.
But now coming into season, it'll be cooler. I can go out and play some tennis and maybe I'll meet somebody, more that way. Who knows? Who knows? Like all these profiles, like, oh, I like to play tennis. I like to do this, everything outdoors. And I'm like, it's too hot. Like I can't do it. It's like I
Yeah.
just can't do it. I don't want somebody who's active outside. Like I just can't.
Yeah. Or active only during certain times of the year. There's seasonal sports.
And you
Yeah.
don't too because here the sun's going down.
Oh, yeah.
Um and here, people are seasoned. So it's like they're only
Yeah.
here for like they'll be here from now and then they'll leave like right before Thanksgiving and they'll go
Uh-huh.
back home for Thanksgiving, whether it's Connecticut or upstate New York or Jersey or wherever. And then they'll come back December and then they won't leave until like April of the following year, April or May, maybe even June. Like
So they're
because then when it
migrate.
gets late, no, actually, you know what? I think they stay until August because they leave like right before it gets really hot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's
That's
probably like
smart.
July. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I'm not a
So
fan
they
of
they
heat.
leave. They're snowbirds, so they leave when it gets really hot, and then when it gets really cold where they are, they come here.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm not
I don't know who I'm getting. Like, am I going to see you in 6 months? Are you going to be going back to Minnesota? Like, am
I
I like a flings?
Mm,
you
yeah,
know,
you'd have to ask. Yeah.
you
That's
don't
interesting.
know. Yeah.
It's like dating in a college town, right?
It's true, right? Like,
Yeah.
or like a Navy guy, like, your port, it's
Yeah.
like, I don't
He's like, "Well,
know.
I'll see you I'll see you when I see you." Like, "Really? What what are we?"
It's been fun.
Yeah. Well, it's hard out here. It's hard out here in South Orange County because I've noticed that what I've done is I date outside of South Orange County
Good for
because
you.
it's a different type of person that lives here.
Yeah.
And I'm being nice about it, but it's just
What
different.
about
So
San Diego?
yeah, I put myself a San Diego address, or I'll even put even Santa Barbara up. You
Oh, wow.
know, it's or
Yeah.
even Ventura. Ye- Oh well, hey, listen, I don't have limits on love. So
There you go.
if
Nice.
some no, yeah, I don't mean to sound poetic, but it's like who knows?
Who you never
I don't want to
know what
limit
you know.
myself. Yeah, I don't want to limit myself to you know how these people out here look. Some of them have a little extra
Yeah,
surgery and looks like they have like one guy described well, one guy yes, those fillers they start swelling and
right?
or those women that look like you know, like a cat when you pet it too hard. You know, like they have that look. Yeah, so But sorry, I'm just
Figure that
going
out
off.
when I get going. No, you know what? You kind of inspired me. Maybe I should just venture out a little bit instead of Naples, because Naples is big. Naples is like, it's like San Clemente, Dana Point, Huntington, Newport, Costa Mesa, all the coastal communities, maybe even Long Beach. It's all like those cities all like in one. Naples is huge. So
Hmm.
maybe I need to venture out a little bit. Maybe like Miami or St. Pete's or Tampa. No,
Yeah.
not because most likely they're homeless right now because of the hurricane, and I don't want anybody shacking here.
Once our house gets rebuilt, hey, you know what? I'm thinking we're going
Right.
apart. Thank you for the food. Uh,
So
yeah,
fun.
no, yeah, I've dated and I've done uh quasi somewhat long distance, and it seems to work. Depend because you got to think some people telecommute, or people have different
You're
arrangements
right.
now. Some people are retired, and they're like, "Yeah, I could come down. We'll meet halfway." I don't want to live under someone 24/7 off the jump, anyways. And
Right.
if it works out, we'll figure it out. That's how I have
Yeah.
the attitude.
Oh, I
Yeah.
like
So
that. I'm gonna spread my wings a little bit. I'll spread my
yes,
wings.
and
I'll go.
also Facebook. On Facebook, there's Facebook groups. Have you ever seen Facebook groups?
Yeah,
Like,
we have some here like Naples singles and things like that.
yeah, I don't even go to the single ones because
Oh,
it's mostly dudes. So I mean, it's good for you, but it's not good for me, right? So I don't do that. But there's other stuff like, say, there's one for people who take ugly pictures of their cat, like ugly cat pictures,
oh,
and so they're fellow cat lovers or cat lovers. I used to have a Tesla. There actually one black Tesla owners. I joined that, and it's just the regular social, but then there's
uh,
single people in there because I the ones that are for singles, it's kind of, you know, to me it's a little
cheese.
aggressive. Yeah, and it's just a
Yeah,
bunch of
it's
dudes in there.
cheesy. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, and it's kind of cheesy. It's like, hi, and then I'm just like, no. And you know
Eh,
what?
eh,
If you're taking a picture of your boat with your Ferrari, and there's so much money here in Naples, and I'm just
uh,
like, oh God, no,
uh,
I don't Newport Beach my life right now. Just
yeah,
don't Newport
yeah.
Beach my life,
Yeah, when people come visit me, like I have family come visit me, and my little nephews, they're like 11 and 12. They're seeing cars, they only heard of or seen, like, that's the
right?
Tesla truck. Oh, that's the Rolls Royce SUV. Like all that junk's all around you. I
It's
go,
like
yeah,
every
these
other
people,
car.
yeah. And they're like
Yeah.
tripping out. They're like, whoa.
I don't,
But
where
yeah,
are we? Where are we? But no,
is it?
there's a lot of money here in Naples, a lot of retirees, a lot of old money. I think there's this place called
Oh,
Port.
well, maybe I need to go out there to date with the dating app, man.
Go on the dating app.
Hey.
There's this city. Oh, did it work? Is it working? No, it's going to dim, I think. There's a city called Port Royal, and
Mm-hmm.
Port Royal, I think, has like Beverly Hills has the most money. It's
Mm-hmm.
the richest city, I think, in the States, but Port Royal, which is only like a half hour away from here, I think. I haven't been there, but I guess there's more money per capita than anywhere in the United States.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's yeah, I think there's like a house right on the beach for like $175 million. Like big money. Like there's a lot of money here. A lot. But
Do
don't
you know what?
don't Newport Beach my little Dana Point girl yet.
Wait,
Maybe later.
what's that place in New York? I went there before. It's north of New York. People go there because the beaches.
Oh,
Um,
Hamptons.
the Hamptons.
Say Hamptons.
I I got invited to the Hamptons, right? Hung out there for a while, right?
You did?
Yeah, go look at their housing prices. It's just like here in Orange County. I
Oh
was like,
yeah.
this is the same thing. People are
Plus
like, oh
land.
man, huh?
Plus the
Yeah.
land. They have
Plus,
land.
yeah. Yes, that's a good point. But I was like, these houses, the prices, because people are like, oh man, this is like the top tier. I said, dude, $1 million, like say in Irvine, will get you a condo. You know what
If
I'm
that
saying? Yeah, if
it'll
that.
get you an apartment. It'll get you an apartment that they renovated into an apartment home. Right?
Yes,
Or
yes,
yeah.
yes. And then
Yeah.
you have a view. You only have like one patio view, and it's of your neighbor's patio. Or
Yeah,
something horrible.
exactly. You're not going to get a
Yeah,
lot for $1 million.
yeah. But I was like, look at the Hamptons homes. Like, dude, I kind of felt like, well, Yeah, it's comparable. It's comparable to over here, but obviously, if you go towards Strands, you
Yeah.
have,
Oh,
you have,
those houses are insane, but they're all on top of
yes.
each other.
Yeah, well, I have 2 friends that live there, right?
Uh-huh.
One of them actually owns 2 homes in Strands, which is
Oh my
ridiculous.
gosh.
Yeah,
Whoa.
but when
Whoa.
you go inside the homes, they're bigger than they look. They're built into the ground. So when you walk
Oh.
inside, yeah, it's ridiculous because you're like, "Oh, this is kind of it's you're not getting a lot of square foot." No, his house is like 4 stories, and it goes into
Oh,
the
it goes
ground.
down.
It goes down, and it's so amazing. It's huge. I'm like, "Oh, I get it now." Like
There's
it's
those houses are insane. Oh my god, they're
yeah,
so
yeah. Like
like
I
when
think
the
the
rich
owner of
go
Costco lives there. Huh?
like
I
okay,
think
so with the owner of Costco, you said?
Costco, this is like down the street from like on the same street as my friend. Costco, Mandarin Express owner, and the
Oh,
and that guy who passed away, he owned 24-hour fitness. He sold it. And
okay.
then
I don't
yeah,
know.
that the guy who started 24-hour fitness, it was Family Fitness and yeah, he lived over there
Dude.
too. So I got a chance to meet I didn't meet them, but I met some other people. And there's other people there that are in these ridiculously large houses. Like say a plot with a house on it, you're looking at between like 25 to 50 million, right?
Yeah.
So there's people there, all they do is sell stuff on Amazon. They don't they're just regular people that started selling
I
and it
need
went
to
out of
learn how to do that, like affiliate marketing.
no, not even affiliate. They're buying stuff from China and just selling it. They're not like, oh yeah, affiliate, not multi-level though. It's not multi-level.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but then some guy from Mexico. I'm just this is random. Just having a conversation here. There's some guy from Mexico, but like a whole like corner of like multiple plots and built like a chateau in there. I don't even know how much that costs. There's walls around it. It looks like a villa. It's
Oh
like
my
from Mexico. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah. Big money.
it's like
Hotel.
maybe 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 8 plots, 8 home plots, and it's huge.
I see,
And I'm like,
I can't even I think I can't even remember like where the last construction plot or lot was. I can't even remember. I think
oh,
the one
and
like when you're overlooking like like where the entryway is.
beaches.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
The
uh,
one the house that's kind of on the corner and it's got the water and a big wall and it's kind of modern and glass. I think that was and it's got like a green wall in the front.
wait, you're talking about if you're at the beach looking back?
No, from the parking lot going looking down.
Okay, I don't really pay attention there. I know from the
There's
beach
so
back. I know the
there's
beach looking back.
I know I'm going to be shocked like what Dana Point looks like when I go back.
Yeah, they're
The parking structure is almost complete. They're doing Javier's, right? Isn't there going to be a Javier's there?
I think so. I think so. I just know that they're finishing up the
Don't
last
don't
house.
Newport Beach or Dana Point, people.
I think they're finishing up that last house on the beach because that whole plot. Remember, they're developing it out on the Strands because
I
Strands is
don't know.
broken into
I
two
don't
parts. Yeah, they're
know.
finishing up that last house, and it's a monster. It looks like they're building an apartment complex.
Seriously?
It's
Okay, I have to get online and look because I know
yeah,
like drone stuff because I want to see it. Oh my god. No, I
yeah.
know I'll be there's so much money that came in. Even in like Monarch Bay where I grew up.
Uh huh.
Oh my god, like it was all on leased land, and in 2020 the land you either had to buy the land and the house or leave. And so my mom couldn't, she couldn't afford it and it was such a big house, so it's like, we're out of here. Well, when the lease land got lifted and it kind of like threw all the old like the OGs out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And new money coming in,
Mm-hmm.
like our dilapidated house where the palm tree from the front was growing roots into the toilet into the back of the house. I mean, our house was
Mm-hmm.
70 years old and it was dilapidated. It was lived in and it was a great house, but it was definitely lived in. He leases it out for 20 grand a month.
Yeah, I can see that.
20 grand. I'm like, that house? If you only knew.
The walls could talk. If the
If
walls could talk.
fuck, that place is gonna fall apart on you one day. It's like a money pit.
Yeah. That's the thing. I'm like, I'm waiting for the housing market to correct out here. I was like, I want to invest or buy something. And it's like, it doesn't.
Yeah,
It doesn't correct in Orange County. Everywhere
not
else it does. Everywhere else it does, but not here.
it's too bougie. And
Yeah.
I think it's not gonna change. It's just gonna I think it's gonna just become more upscale as life goes on, honestly.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know? And yeah, it's turning into a Newport Beach. It's turning into
No,
Naples.
don't say that. Don't say that.
Oh, there's a sticker, a bumper sticker, and I wanted it so bad before I left. It says, "Don't Newport Beach our Dana Point."
Yeah, because Dana Point's so beautiful. Is this right? Yeah, I'm like right. The town I'm in is new. They took chunks of like Ladera Ranch, San Clemente, San Juan Capistrano, and
Oh,
just
I think
created a new little
it's
town.
in Diego.
Yeah,
Okay, I know by
yeah,
Delson's and all of that, in and out.
yeah,
Okay, I know
yes.
exactly where you are. You're on La Plata.
Okay,
Are you on La
yeah.
Plata?
I don't know the streets. All
Like
I
La
know is,
Plata,
or
like La Plata, where
oh yes, yes, yes. That's it. Yes.
Delson's and in and
Yeah,
out and
yeah,
all.
yes,
Yeah,
yes, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I always just measure off the freeway. It's weird. I don't. I've been there for now 6 years, and I don't pay attention. I just know I'm off
It's
the freeway.
autopilot. Autopilot. I can't
Y-
believe when I was growing up, there none of that was out there. It was only from the 74, from the 5 freeway to the 74, you go Ortega,
Uh-huh.
and it was a
You got that
what
horse. You got that horse place.
that wasn't even there.
Oh, really?
The
Oh,
Polo Field
wow.
or the horse where they do the rodeos, that wasn't even there.
Yeah.
Like
Okay. Yeah.
none of that was there. None of it. It was just a 2-lane highway, one that way, one this way. And
Mm.
so there were so many. That's where a couple of my friends got killed in car accidents out there too, where my dad
Oh,
goes,
Ortega.
yeah, he goes,
Oh.
all like during high school, he goes, if I find out that you've been driving on the Ortega, he goes, I will take your car away. And I said, okay. And I feared my dad in a really good, in a healthy way. I'm sorry about the lighting. It's going down
That's
here.
okay. But
Um,
Ortega is actually, if you look it up, it's still one of the deadliest in the United States. You can look it up. Ortega
is
Highway,
it
Highway
still?
74. Yeah, and
Everyone's in a freaking hurry to go nowhere, and you can't. I just pull over in like a little cove, in a little alcove. I just pull over. I went one time. I think yeah, one time. It was for my friend Eric Van Vliet's birthday, and he was in Temecula. No, 2 times I had gone out there. So Temecula, he lived in Temecula,
yes.
Murrieta, and I was like, I'm not doing the 55, 91 and all that stuff during rush hour traffic. So I cut across, and it was my very first time taking the Ortega. And I was so scared. I was like, oh my God, like people were in a hurry because they knew the turns and all of that. They're familiar with it. But oh, I was sweating bullets. I was like, I need a chiropractor. I
Well,
need a chiropractor.
here's the crazy thing about Ortega is that it's 2 lanes, as we know, right? And it's
Yeah,
it's the deadliest. There's probably an accident there because I keep an app that keeps track of what's going on Ortega, and there's an accident almost every day. Fatality
really.
once or yeah,
Still.
you get a fatality about once a week out there, and it's usually a motorcyclist hitting a car or a
Uh,
motorcyclist just going over the edge.
over
But
the
I
edge.
when I lived in Malibu Canyon, actually this is gory. I didn't mean to use the reference, but I literally lived like right down the street from where Kobe's helicopter crashed. I
Hmm.
recognize it. It's Las Virgenes Road. It leads right to Malibu Canyon. And there's Mulholland Drive and all these areas that go through there, and they're just like
Right.
Ortega, but they don't have the fatalities. Guys are on their motorcycles and going. I don't know if
Why?
it's the people who go through there, and I don't know, but Malibu Canyon is loaded with 2 lane hairpin turns. That's why even Jay Leno, sometimes if you go in the morning, there's a place called the Rock Store. Jay Leno will be there, and he'll be in a classic motorcycle or car, and everyone drives through multiple lanes that go through different parts of the canyons through Malibu, and you don't have a problem. But for some reason,
The
people are
Ortega.
whip people are whipping through Ortega, and I follow
It's
social
still,
media. Yeah, and on
yeah,
social
still
media,
happens.
there's motorcyclists that wreck on there. They brag who could, there's a challenge of who could get through Ortega the fastest. There's like a record. They keep trying to break the record. And
Oh
it's
my
like, you guys are
God.
nuts, dude. What do you win? You
Yeah,
win
what do you win?
nothing.
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 You could lose your life or hurt somebody else, you know? I mean,
Yes.
it's reckless. Yeah. And then so I went out there for Eric's birthday, and then I had a meeting. And so two times, and that was it. And that
Hmm.
was like within the past like 7 years. Like, but up
Yeah.
until about 7 years ago, I never went to the Ortega. But none of that was out there. Like Antonio wasn't out there. Ladera, like Crown Valley stopped at the Mission Viejo Mall at the freeway when I moved here.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it goes pretty far back now,
And
yeah.
now it goes Ladera and all of that. But when I first moved there, there was one light, and that was at Crown Valley and Niguel Road, and that was it. That was the only light. Like everything else, like Laguna Niguel was there, but Ocean Ranch wasn't there. Marina Hills wasn't there. So Golden Lantern ended from like if you took Golden Lantern from the harbor, like
Hmm.
past Dana Hills High School,
Yeah.
it stopped right at Dana Woods. That
Okay.
community,
Yeah.
Dana Woods, like none of that was there. It was all orange
Yeah.
groves and dirt
Yeah.
and cows and dirt paths, and people used to ride their dirt bikes out there. And yeah, it's I mean, there's a Facebook, and I think it's called Dana Point Unplugged, and
Hmm.
sometimes they show like really old pictures of like
Uh-huh.
Salt Creek and Dana Point and Laguna Niguel. It's pretty cool.
I'll check it
Check it
out.
out.
Dana Point
Yeah, check it
Unplugged.
out. It's always fun to kind of like go back. Yeah, like what did it look like? You know?
Yeah, well, when you come back, we definitely got to go to lunch or grab
Sure.
something to eat, and I'll show you.
I may come over for I'm thinking about it. Around Christmas time. It's we do an annual like Christmas party for class of 87. It's like a core group
Mm,
of us. So I may come out there around sometime during Christmas, but I don't know yet.
okay, all right, we'll be in touch, and I will, and if you come, definitely. You say class of '87. There's a movie. If you get a chance, it's not an old movie either. It's called "Take Me Home Tonight." It's
Uh-uh.
based off that song "Take Me Home Tonight."
Okay.
Na, na, na. Yeah, and it's all '80s. You'll love it. You'll
What
like
is
it.
on?
Um, I don't know. It might be on Netflix. Just if you just Google
Okay.
"Take Me Home Tonight" movie,
Yeah,
but it's a comedy,
I could
and
use some good comedy tonight. That would be good.
yeah, and it basically it's a high school. It's I forget what it's like these high school kids that had just graduated maybe 2 years prior, but they decided to do like a 3 year reunion and go back to their high school or have a reunion, but it's like 87 or 88.
Oh,
And
too
but it's but
cute.
but it's made in the modern times, but it's all 80s. The way they dress, the collars popped up on
Yeah.
the or double. I'm sorry, they were double polos, is it?
Big
Double?
hair. Oh, the
Yes.
double polos.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on, really fast. I found this last night. Oh my God. Speaking of high school in the 80s, I came across my senior picture the other day. Oh my God. Okay, hang on. Turn on. Oh my God. I had like Bon Jovi hair. Okay, here it is. Hang on. It's so funny. Oh my gosh. The 80s were great. Those were good times.
It was like innocent fun to some degree, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it was just good fun. I mean, I remember going to parties and oh, where is it? Going to parties, and I would show up with like my, like
Aquanet hairdo.
well no, like
Mhm.
a 12 pack or whatever, right?
Mhm.
And then the cops would be there, and they're like, I'm gonna have to take that from you. And I go, why? You're just gonna drink it. He goes, I know, but it's like you do, like you talk like that to a cop today, you're doomed. Look at me.
Oh, yeah, you got the big hair going on. Look at you. You had it going on.
It's so funny. Oh my God, it's hilarious. Oh geez. The 80s were good. Well, I'm gonna check that out. And then when yeah, and I'll keep you posted on me coming out for around Christmas time. I gotta get with the crew and see if they're even doing it. They'll do it this year. I just don't know when.
Okay, and I'm gonna hit you up afterwards, probably because I have to run here. We went almost 3 hours. I
I
have to
know.
run here, and
You
but
were
I'm gonna
just
hit you up about
talking
the.
too.
No, it's all good. This is good.
Okay.
But I want to hitch up afterwards about that EMDR doctor
I
for my
will.
buddy.
Yep. You know what? I'll give you like 3 different referrals.
Okay.
For
All
sure.
right, sounds good.